You're hosting an unbelievable, stimulating room. First thing I just want to add, I mean, obviously, war is tragic, but as you pointed out, Jay, this didn't just start with, hey, let's bomb Iran because they're building a nuclear weapon. It goes way back to Iran sponsoring assassinations, Iran sponsoring Hezbollah, Iran sponsoring Hamas. And, you know, if you think about it, and I'm just putting this in context for those people in the States, I mean, imagine if we just kept getting missiles shot over from either Canada or Mexico or both, and we knew the state that was sponsoring it. Would we just passively at some point just say, oh, that's okay, or that's just part of daily life? You know, this is something that, you know, there's no half pregnant. What Israel's done, there's no, in my opinion, there's no turning back. And I think they will do what they can to force regime change. And the other side of it, from a political standpoint, I also believe the current president, you know, unfortunately for him, he's kind of boxed into a corner. One could argue that perhaps he was led down this path by Netanyahu and others, but he's got like too many mouths to feed or people to placate, whether it's parts of MAGA, whether it's his own, you know, political connections, whether it's Vladimir Putin, whoever you want to say. And I just think that this is a tipping point for him where essentially for the second term, the honeymoon period's over. And, you know, I just don't know ultimately what the final outcome's going to be, but it could parallel ultimately what Nixon had to contend with Vietnam. And I'll land my skylab there. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Howard. Tarun, what did he say that's hateful? I'm curious. You wrote in the chat that he's spreading hate. What is that? What did he say that was hateful? Tarun? Taryn, whatever your name is? Okay, you stay on mute. Stano, I like it. You want to say something, Tarun? Taryn?
Yeah. People shouldn't wish someone else's death because of their religion or what they believe in. And I believe today the regime is probably doing something like that. That's what I wanted to say. My bad.
Okay, thanks for that stimulating comment. Sano, how you doing, Sano?
Hello. I just wanted to add that, of course...
by the way, I like your PTR.
Thank you. I'm Iranian, and but I live in Europe. We hold demonstrations regularly. We've been doing that, especially now. We have held two so far since the current conflict started. And generally, Iranian people, the majority of us, Iranian diaspora, they are pro-Israel and pro-Bibi. You know, we have a song for Bibi. Ahmed Fahd has sung a song for Bibi promoting, and he basically sang it, I think, 3 years ago. And he is calling for Bibi hitting Khamenei. And that is, it is interesting that now it is the reality, something which was in our dream. And I just wanted to say, well, there are some people who say America first, MAGA, but there is also fake MAGA, which are actually IRGC. They opened the room yesterday, and none of them had an American accent. I mean, their English accent was even worse than me, but they claimed to be Americans living in America and pro-America first, and they were promoting anti-Israel propaganda, conspiracy theories, whatnot, and saying, I don't want to die for Israel, stuff like that. Fake MAGA, serving Khamenei, serving IRGC. I just want to say, from the standpoint of America first, America will be safer with regime change in Iran. Regime change in Iran makes America safe, makes Europe safe. Just look at the tweet of Larijani. You know, these Larijanis are a clan. All of them have top posts in Iranian regime. And they are not even born in Iran. They were born in Iraq. They are Iraqis posing as the Iranians. One of them published a tweet recently, openly, audaciously, threatening Rafal Grossi to assassination. He openly says that we will deal with you, Grossi, after this conflict is over. So he openly threatened to assassination Rafal Grossi, the UN Nuclear Watch, head of Nuclear Watch in the UN. They threatened him to assassination, and probably they did assassinate his predecessor with some radioactive drug, because Mr. Yukio Amano, suddenly he got cancer out of the blue. So maybe they assassinated him with some Russian radioactive drugs. That is, I don't know, a guess. So that kind of regime, Europe will be safer, America will be safer if that regime is toppled, and for a safer America, regime change in Iran is essential.
Oh,
and
Sam.
now we are historically very close to that. We should not leave the job unfinished. Finish
Sam.
the job.
Thank you. I agree. Finish the job. You know, if there's any Iranian government people in the room, you're welcome to the stage. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But I don't think you have the balls to come up. But it's amazing to me how we know that this government right now, the IRGC, supports Hezbollah, Hamas, right, the Houthis. So it's not just about freeing the Persian people, which I hope happens, but it's also about giving some peace to that region that historically has no peace. It has to start. Everybody's heard me say for years now, we got to have a regime change in that country for there to be even a chance of peace in that region, right? October 7th wasn't just a fluke. October 7th was because Israel was going to get recognized by Saudi Arabia. And they were like, no, we're not having that. But let me go to Sabina, and then we're going to go popcorn style. Sabina, good morning.
Hi, good
Hader,
morning.
I got you, Hader. Get Sabina.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I wanted to make comments on the Trump, the pressure under Trump with the America First people. I don't know, everyone, have you seen the interview with Ted Cruz and, sorry, what's his name? Tucker
Carlson, yes.
Yes, yeah. So there's a whole group of people within MAGA who believe America first, and what I think is so confusing is that they make it seem as if America's like Sweden that had like that has been neutral in all the conflicts in the Middle East. It's been in all the conflicts and is still in. And when not Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz actually said we. Someone got mad at him like, oh, why are you saying we? Because he said we in terms of Israel and America together, right? And I don't understand what the American First people are trying to do, try to unwind, because Americans involved in the Middle East, it always has been. So to me, I just think it's a bit bizarre that you have this group of people, and now they're attacking Tulsi because Tulsi said that she's seen intel, and by the way, people change their mind, right, based off evidence. That's what rational people do. So she's seen evidence that there are, development of nuclear weapons, and that they can be maybe a few weeks away, right? And so she said, for that reason, I support America, getting involved now. And now people, all those people are now having a backlash, like, this is not our war. No, it is your war, because you played a role in all of these issues. There's a lot of Iranians who even blame America for putting Khomeini in power, right, during Carter's time. So that's all I wanted to share. I just don't think that the America First thing makes any sense. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina. Appreciate you. So I'm going to go to Hader. Hader, I called on you 5 times already. You there?
No, I was busy. Sorry about that, man.
Hold on. Butters, you can go after Hader, then we're going to go to Cogito. Yeah, Hader.
Yeah, look. This whole idea of regime change is really suicide. Okay, I don't think regime change is going to work in Iran. It hasn't worked in Libya. It hasn't worked in Afghanistan. It hasn't worked in Iraq. So we already know the result of what regime change is. Now, people in the audience don't know this. Maybe some of them know, but Iran is not only Persian, right? Persian is about 60%, about 50 to 60%. You have Kurds, you have Azeris, you have Arabs, you have Malojis, you have all these other groups, right? That is beyond Shia and Sunni division in Iran. Right now, if you look at the leadership, it's kind of mixed up. So the supreme leader is actually
Hader. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
It's a very, very simple question, right?
Yes.
Do you consider this regime in power right now as a murderous regime?
So I'm from the global south. So I'm gonna take the position of the Russian and Chinese government. That's the position I'm going to take. And that position is, we do not want to crumble this regime and create refugee and suffering and more suffering, more than this region deserves, right? The Middle East is already it's a cake basket. It's a cake basket, right? It's basket cake, whatever.
Bro,
whatever
listen,
you
man.
say.
Bro, I'm calling cap on everything you're saying. This government's
I
not
get
only,
it.
bro, let me finish, bro. You don't have to
Okay,
even meet
okay.
up. We can have the dialogue. But not only is this government murderous to its own people, they are sponsoring terrorism throughout that region. So when you say I take the side of Russia and China, man, you got to take those blinders off. This regime right here is the main problem in that region, and that's a fact. But please, Langer.
No. So what is the alternative? You see, we have to look into the alternative, right? The alternative is a lot worse than what we have right now. Okay, already Viktor Orban, the Hungarian president, already talked to Trump, and he said, you know what? I do not want refugees in my country, dude. The Europeans are now concerned about refugees, right? So they already had enough refugees from Iraq, from Libya, from Syria in the last 15, 20 years. They don't want to deal with that, right? So what the argument, especially the Russian government is making, and to some extent in many countries in the global south, right?
Let me ask you a question respectfully.
Yeah.
Do you hear what you're saying? You support Russia, a terrorist supporter. You support China. You support this IRGC. Do you hear what you're saying?
I don't support Iran. No, I don't support Iran. I think what I'm telling you is the regime is bad, which we already know is bad. But what is the alternative, man? The alternative is going to be civil war, chaos, and refugee migration. Just is going to be death and destruction. That is
Let me ask you.
That's the alternative.
Okay, and I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you. And it's just my opinion, right? I'm not a geopolitical expert. I'm not one of those pseudo-intellectuals. But what I know of Persian people, let me tell you something. Once this regime is topped, they're probably going to be some of the most united people on this planet because they've been through this shit for 46 years. They're not going to want chaos and civil war. They're not going to flee their country. They're going to rebuild it into the power that it should be. So everything you're saying, I disagree with you wholeheartedly. So hold on, guys. Everybody, hold on. Hater, hold on a second, because I got so many speakers on stage. So I told Butters she can, Marsha, I got you, Marsha. I told Butters she can go next. I'm going to go Butters, Marsha, Sarah, and I'll come back around to everybody else. Butters, good morning.
Good morning. I've been listening for a while doing household things. I like the way that you control your stage. Even if there's some bias, you still let people rock and talk. So this is a good segue from what Haydar just was saying. So my question is to any Zionists that are listening, not Jews, Zionists. I'm purposely separating this question, or those that consider themselves Zionists. What has gone on in Syria, that is a regime change that you see, is now led by Al-Qaeda. So at one point, I thought Al-Qaeda was America's friend. Now, seems like through proxies, we're working with Al-Qaeda and letting certain things happen. I saw Benjamin Netanyahu go and show a map of what was looking like a greater Israel project. And so I want to know, is that the end game for Iran? If there's a regime change, you want to include them in the greater Israel project as a Zionist? And are we supposed to also work with more Al-Qaeda?
Well, let me just say this. Thank you for your compliment, however, in my room. Please cash in your pink ticket. I'm going to go to, I'll let Mickey. Mickey, do you want to answer her question?
Is that person a Zionist?
100% he's a Zionist.
Okay, great.
Mickey, do you want to answer the question?
To be honest, JB, I'm not going to entertain ridiculous.
Okay, any other Zionists want to
Is
answer?
it ridiculous? Why is it ridiculous? Let's find out.
Butters, I got somebody that wants to respond. Marsha, go ahead, Marsha.
Yeah, I can answer her and also Haydar, not as a Zionist, but as a Persian. So what Haydar has said was exactly the propaganda of IRGC. They are telling us for 46 years that if there is a regime change in Iran, then there will be chaos. And they have been telling us during the past years that look at Libya, look at Syria, look at Iraq, this will be the future of you. But that's not the case. But because Iran is no Syria, Iran is no Libyan, we are a united nation. And culturally, we are different from the Arab countries and from Libya, from Iraq, and from Syria. So this thing will never happen in Iran. And the other thing, the fact that you say that I don't support regime change, what do you say to my question? One of the last times that Iranian people came to streets peacefully begging for their freedom, asking for their freedom, the regime and IRGC killed 1,500 of them in 2 days. And according to some reports, up to 3,000 of the people in the streets. Is it not a chaos? What do you call this?
Who was she talking to? Because I asked the question and I thought there was supposed to be somebody who was
okay, hold on. Let me ask you a question before I'll answer your question. But let me ask you this, Sarah. I got you. What is your definition of a Zionist, Butters? What do you think a Zionist is?
Well, my own president, my past president, said you don't have to be Jewish to be one. And then he explained perfectly what exactly that is. And everyone in America has that definition through Biden, which means that they are proud Zionists that are not Jewish. So I was not speaking to anyone necessarily because of their religion. And I think we all here
So
need to know what that is.
a Zionist is somebody who supports Israel's right to exist. That's exactly the definition
That's
of
not
Zionist.
the only portion of it.
Okay, what's the other portion? Then tell me, teach me.
The other portions of being a Zionist has to do with relating biblical things.
That's
and
not true.
How are you going to tell me they do relate biblical things to it? What do you mean? You don't have to be religious to know this.
Okay.
But they pull from biblical things to expose why they would need to be expansive in that region. It's their so-called holy land.
Wait. So let me ask you this. So basically, Israel went into Gaza because it was about land.
I'm not talking about Gaza, Lev.
Okay.
I'm talking about the Greater Israel Project. So that's what I'd like to, make sure that
your definition isn't correct?
Did you see the same thing?
Correct.
Listen,
Amy,
love,
can
it can
I
be whatever you want it to be. It can be whatever you want it to be. I don't have a problem with talking about the Greater Israel Project, which is what I came to ask about. Thank you.
Butters. When you say it could be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, because I don't want to argue with him, love.
Okay, you don't have to love. You don't have to argue with him. But here's the thing: when you say something like that, it says to me that no matter what definition he gives, you're not going to accept it anyway.
I never argued with anybody's definition. They're asking me about mine. I told you what I thought, and now that we're on the same page with whatever it may be to everybody, that Greater Israel Project that BB went there with the map and showed, now that there'll be a regime change in the next place that we've moved on to, because our peoples in America sat around and talked about regime change in different. Let me finish, love. Let me finish, love. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him, and he went there with the map. No, you're wasting your time with your mic open. I'm not talking to you, love. Let me talk to who I'm speaking to. They're listening. You don't have to. Close your ears.
You're lying.
So when he went there with the map, he basically showed what he would like to do. And if there's going to be regime change in Iran, is that going to, my question was, what's next is what Haydar was asking. So what I'm saying is that going to be a part of the game plan?
No,
to
there
put
is no
out Haydar?
Sarah, I got you, Sarah. But hold on a second, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Put a link in the chat with this Greater Israel Project.
Sure,
I want to take a
sure.
piece.
I
But
got you.
I also want to go to Sarah, who I'm sure she's going to push back. Hello, Sarah. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, JB. I actually specifically came on the stage to talk about the part. I don't know people who say if you topple the regime in Iran, there's going to be another Syria, Iraq, Libya. I don't know if they're uneducated or they just, because I've seen some educated people, fall for that propaganda. So I don't know what is the situation, why people repeating that. So I actually had to go look the history of Sharia law. I'm not kidding you, because I have no idea what's going on in Libya. Like, I don't care about every country in the world. I had to go look and see what is the common and differences between Iran and these countries and Sharia law and how long Islam has been, part of their government. So Syria, Libya, Iraq, they've had Sharia law since the 7th century. That's over 1,500 years, people. 1,500 years. Of course, it's going to be difficult to remove Islam from the politics in those countries. Iran, on the other hand, they've only had Sharia law, Islam in the government combined in the last 46 years. Iran has a culture of 7,000 years. Iran has been around for 7,000 years. It's always been a monarchy. Now, I don't even support monarchy, but for people to try to use the fact that Libya and Syria and Iraq ended up in civil war, so Iran's going to have the same thing, is the dumbest argument ever. Because look, Iranian people were supporting and were pro IRGC when they came along. And just imagine how fucked up the whole Sharia law is, that within 46 years, they have lost 90% of their supporters. True or false, they claim their support was like 98% or something like that after the revolution. But what happened is people separate themselves. And just look around. Look around. Why do Iranians not go fight Israel? Why do Iranians don't go bomb and kill innocent people? Because Iranians are not associating themselves, and they don't like any of this that IRGC is pushing on them. That's why IRGC goes funds and train in other countries. It's simple as that. So stop, please stop going on different stages and say, oh, we don't want refugees. We don't want this. The other day, someone's like, Iranians are going to come refugees in Pakistan. Look, Iranians might be racist for thinking they're better than other people, but let me be clear about something. Even if there is a war in Iran, no one's going to go try to become a refugee of Pakistan or Russia. I don't know where people come up with all these stupid things.
Thank you, Sarah.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Hold on. Can you wait a second till she's finished?
Yeah.
We'll land that plane. Thank you. Sarah, you land your plane?
I was going to say one sentence in Butter's response as an Iranian Zionist. There is no such a thing. Israel is not trying to take over Iran. You guys, this is the propaganda of IRGC, and these people are just going around and spreading it. Just shut the fuck up. Why are Iranians not scared of that?
Fuck up. That was about 15 sentences, but since you're Sarah, I let it go. But before I go to the next speaker, I have to say good morning to my man King 334 Mob.
Yes, sir. What's
King,
going on, brother? What's going on? Good morning.
Having a very spicy conversation on this Saturday morning. Israel versus the IRGC. So I have a question before I go to the next speaker. Yo, Sabina, what's your smoke with Sarah? Sarah's definitely, she's a lot of things, but anti-Semitic. She's, hey, I got you, bro. Show a little mind control. I want to ask Sabina a question. Sabina.
Yeah, JB, she called me anti-Semitic, so I just said the same thing back.
Oh,
because if she can just call me that, I can just call her right.
Okay.
Because it doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so you're pulling the pigtails. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, let me.
She's not a good representative for her own country because she's saying racist stuff. And then look, right now, Whoopi Goldberg was just saying right now, oh, America's very racist. Black people suffer in America, right? And she was saying that about comparing herself to Iran. Let me ask you a question. Why should American, Black, Hispanic, all these groups of people, why should they die for someone who clearly is racist? She literally just said we are superior to Pakistanis. I said you, ma'am. I said you. I didn't say Israel. I said you. JB, can I talk?
Sarah, let her finish.
Okay, so first of all, I didn't mention Israel, right? There are people who are not good representations for their own country, and you're one of them because you just said that, oh, we are not going to become, I wouldn't wish a civil war on any country, but for you to say that we're not going to be like those other countries because we're superior to them, you sound like a fucking idiot and racist, by the way.
No, I didn't say we're superior. I said we have not had Sharia laws in our country for 1,500 years. We've only had it for 40 years. If you want to hear it differently, that's for you. And that's why I call you anti-Semite, because you really are.
Based on what? Based on what?
Based on when I was saying that how Islam is behind all of this, you told me that your friend is looking for a virgin. Do I want to marry him as a fourth wife?
I was trolling her because as soon as she found out, as soon as she said, excuse me, as soon as she, do you hate Muslims? Do you hate Muslims? Do you hate Muslims?
Your name every day, people don't.
Do you hate Muslims?
You are.
Do you hate Muslims?
Anti-Semite.
Do you hate Muslims?
Sarah, hold on a second.
No, I'm not. JB, as soon as you see, look, the language, vulgar, gross. This is the problem. As soon as she found out I was Muslim, she started attacking me, and then we went back and forth. But if I respond to her, she decides to say that I'm this and I'm that. She doesn't like Muslims. She looks down on Arabs, and she just asking Israelis and waiting for them to damsel in distress to come save her and cheering them on. You're just a loser and not a good representative for your country.
Well, hold
Racist.
on, everybody, hold on.
It looks
Marsha,
like
hold on, hold on.
everybody enjoys my point of view, but
Oh, so Afghani people deserve to be killed, right? According to you,
Let me
because
just,
they're Muslim.
Sabina, hold on a second. Please respect the stage. Thank you. I'm just going to say, listen, Sarah, you got to let me talk, hon. Thank you. So, I've been around Sabina for a few years now. I've never heard her curse before. I'm like sitting there saying, did she just say the F word? I'm shocked. Whatever personal beefs you guys have, please take it to the chat or take it somewhere else. Hold on a second. I want to go to Marsha because she's been trying to.
I prefer not to talk to me again. Thank you.
Oh, my bad, Marsha. Hader has been waiting, and then I'll come to Marsha, then Cogito. Hader, go ahead, Hader.
No, I'm just gonna respond to that particular twisted history. If we're talking about Islam, well, Persian Empire was the first one that was actually defeated by Muslims in 632 in what is today used to be Ctesiphon, the ancient city of Ctesiphon, what is now Baghdad, right? Before it became Baghdad, that's the history, right? So Islam has been in Persia longer than it's been in Libya,
when
right?
did I say Iranians are not Muslim? I said they didn't have Sharia law.
Don't interrupt me, please. Don't interrupt me. Let me finish my point here, right? So I'm not even either Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or either none of this. But the point I'm talking about here is this, right? So that's that, right? So even Islam, so if we're talking about Syria, there's no record of showing Syria being a true Muslim country since the since the Ottoman, right? After the Ottoman, basically Syria was pretty much a clusterfuck place itself. Became the French autonomous area, and then later on was taken over by a king assassinated by the Assad family, right? So let's not just rewrite history. Let's just say.
Also, do not call the Kurds Persians. We're not Persians. We Kurdish people are definitely not Persians.
Okay.
That's what she called you. Yeah, that's what she called you.
Guys. Hater, I know you hear my voice. So here's how we're gonna do it. If somebody's speaking and somebody else comes off a mic, I'm just gonna move you down to the audience. Because now it's getting too confusion. Listen, I get it. Sarah gets really hot. Marsha, I got you. Sarah gets really hot. She stands on her square. But we need to show a little decorum so we can have the conversation. Marsha, I'm going to go to Marsha, then Cogito, then Sharif, and then Shipwrecked and Doctor. Marsha, go ahead.
Okay, so I think the discussion went in the wrong direction. So it's not about the religion. It's not about the Jews and Muslims. So when we say that we are happy that about this war between Mullah's regime and Israel, we are talking about fighting against terrorism. We are talking about this ideology that announces jihad and war against Jews and against pagans and against what other people that they can put any label or etiquette on them. So please be careful about this, first of all. So we are talking about terrorism and humanity. And the other thing, so I think Sarah didn't want to say that Iranians or Persians are superior. So that's not the fact, actually. So you should know that culturally, there are too many differences between Iranians and other nations around them, the Arab neighbors and other countries around them. And if you don't know this difference, then you will fall to the trap of the IRGC propaganda that has been saying throughout all these 46 years that look at the future of the look at the presence of Libyan, look at the presence of Iraq and Syria, and that will be your future if you look for regime change. But that's not the case if you know the cultural difference between Iranians and other countries. So it is not about the religion or these kind of things and superiority. So don't fall to this trap, please.
Thank you, Marsha. We're going to go to Cogito. How do you say your name, Cogito? Cogito?
Cogito.
Cogito, my apologies. I'm just a dummy from Brooklyn.
By the way, JB, real quick, I put the links in the chat for you so you can look at those things while we're talking.
I definitely will. Hey, Butters, I'm gonna tell you right now. Somebody just came into the room. He's on the stage. He's gonna bring it to you, and that's my man El Normal. But let me go to
Me and El Normal are friends.
Okay, let me go to this gentleman. Go ahead, man. You were saying.
Yeah. So I think like there's some confusion going on, and I think like when it comes to Israel and Iran, Iran, I think like people tend to think about it in a more religious act, and I get it, like it's tied politically, but I think like before 1979, they had Israel and Iran, they were cordial, and the reason why, after the revolution, everything went to shit, and that was because Iran didn't like the way the Western world was like handling the situation, and that's because of Shah. He was kind of like pressure from the U.S. and U.K. into like signing oil agreements and things like that. And after the revolution, when Shah fled, everything went to shit on terms of the relations between Iran and the U.S. So Israel is now backed. Well, they've been backed by the UK and US, and Israel more so. They weren't on attack against Israel at all, right? And I believe the reason why Israel attacked Iran was due to the fact of the backing of Hamas. And when it becomes between Palestinian people and Israel, that's a whole different story. That's the battle of the land, right? And I think between those two, there was a shadow war going on, and Hamas is playing between Palestine and Iran, and this is who Israel is actually trying to target. But at the very same time, again, Iran. They don't like people that is backed behind the the U.S. policies or the UK. So they have that sense of hate due to that. And I don't think I don't think it is about this religious thing. But I'll leave it there.
Thank you. I know it's about land. It's always about the land, guys. We want the land. So I'm going to engage the conversation right now before I go to the next speaker. El Normal, good morning.
Hey there, good morning to you.
So this young lady, Butters, nice PTR by the way, has a question for the Zionists, and I know that you're probably the biggest Zionist on this app. So Butters, would you like to have the conversation with El Normal?
Oh, I've done this with El Normal before. El Normal, so basically I'm just asking, when the regime change happens in Iran, would anybody who is a Zionist be interested in expanding the Greater Israel Project in that direction?
Your question is based on two false assumptions. Number one, that regime change is inevitable, or that Israel has the power to effect it. And two, that there is such a thing as the Greater Israel Project. I'm unaware of such a thing. I think this is yet another example of a blood libel against Israel.
That route, Ramon?
I'm not going to be long, my dear.
No, I'm just saying, why would you say that that's not true, though? They all talk about it.
Give me 1 sec. Quick, hold your questions for the end. I won't be long. So, number two, the idea of this Greater Israel Project is a blood libel. A blood libel is a lie that is used to justify killing Jews. For example, this genocide thing that people accuse Israel of is a lie and a blood libel. Israel has neither the desire nor the plan to commit any kind of genocide. That would be a horrific thing. We invented the word. In fact, it means killing a tribe. We're not destroying the Palestinians. We're getting rid of Hamas. We're at war. They could stop the war by surrendering and giving up our hostages, which they're still holding. Similarly, Israel is not an expansionist country. In fact, when our enemies attack us and we take land, as is our right when they attack us, We are willing to return the land in exchange for peace, and we did so with Egypt when we took the Sinai, which made Israel 1/3 bigger. That was in the 1967 war. In 1978, at Camp David with Jimmy Carter, we gave the Sinai back to Egypt in exchange for peace. We offered Syria the same thing with the Golan Heights, which we took when they attacked us from the north. So no, there is no greater Israel project. It is a blood libel used to call us, I don't know what, expansionist, imperialist, colonialist. We are none of those things. We are a decolonial power. Now your question, if you would like, my dear.
I mean, you already put all of the expose of the farce on display right now. Thanks.
I'm unaware of any farce. What is the farce that you refer to?
Where did the concept of the Greater Israel conversation, when did that start? Who began that? Since it doesn't exist.
Since you brought it up, I'd have to say you.
Okay, so you never heard about that through the World Zionist Congress at all?
No.
Oh, okay. Sure.
What are you referring to? Why don't, on the other hand, you provide
Is there such a thing as a World Zionist Congress?
Hang on, ma'am. Hang on. Why don't you give us now, since you raised this in the conversation?
I already put it in the chat. You came late.
Yes.
So look
I'm
at
not
what I
late,
wrote in the
ma'am.
chat.
I'm not late for anything. I'm here of my own free will. I'm not getting paid for this.
Right,
So
but
why
just
don't you
scroll
tell
back
the...
in the chat. I put all
Hang
the
on,
information
Butters,
there
my
for you.
dear. Butters, my dear. Please tell us in words, in your words, why do you bring up this Greater Israel Project, and what is your evidence? Please tell us.
Deafening silence. Deafening.
Butters, did you want to respond to that?
Actually, I already answered and told him the same thing I told you, is my info is in the chat. And if he can admit that a World Zionist Congress has existed and discussed it, then we can move forward. But I won't play with norms.
I'm not playing. This is the third time. You asked me a question. You seem to feel you're entitled to answers. I was gracious and responded. So I ask you, what is this project?
You actually brought
What
up
is your
something
evidence?
about a blood libel, which I never insinuated. And to be able to have these discussions, you actually have to be willing to be truthful about things. So thank you.
Absolutely. Please set the example now. I was truthful. Now it's your turn. What is this Greater Israel Project, and what is your evidence? Go ahead.
Go to my links in the chat. Educate yourself. Thank
So
you.
you don't? Is that fair to say? You have no idea what you're talking about?
No, everybody on stage knows but you. So I put it in the chat for
You
you.
don't speak for them unless they've hired you. Please tell us, what is the Greater Israel Project, and what's your
You are the only one that's asking to know. Everyone else said that they knew.
That's
Thank you.
because
No,
nobody-
wait, hold on, Norm. Nobody said they knew, but he's asking you a very simple question. What is the Greater Israel Project? In your words.
Don't be lazy. I put it in the chat, and
Okay.
I've already told
Okay. And I'm
JB
gonna
looked
tell-
at it.
She can't explain it, JP. She can't.
She can't. Hold on. I moved it down because she's disingenuous. She's intellectually dishonest. You know.
The only thing we know is that she's lying and she's probably working for the IRGC. That's what we know.
Say no. Your mic is too loud, bro. It's too early in the morning. But I want to go to probably the smartest geopolitical person on this app, and that's Dr. Wise. Dr. Wise, good morning. Dr. Wise, put the sheet down. Okay, that's what I thought. Sharif, good morning, Sharif.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. Sorry, I don't have a good English, but I will try to say what I want to say with the group. First thing, I'm from Egypt, and I suppose nobody here from Egypt to know or to tell the real history between of Israel. I want to call this government, they killing the people in Palestine, in Gaza, in wherever they can kill the people, they are doing. The Jewish people, I am Muslim, and I don't have a problem with the Jewish people or the Christian people. I have a problem with the Zionist people, the people who killing the people. Even they are Muslim people, I don't like. I hate who kill children, women, men. And what I want to say, what happened now in Iran or in Gaza, before was Gaza. In Iran, there is arms, there is guns, there is weapons. They can defend of them. But in Gaza, nobody defend them. So what I want to say, we have to see the truth. Even the Jewish people, if there is a Jewish people in the room now, they have to see the truth, to be a human, to see what is the reality, history. Because all of us, we are human. We have to say the truth, even we are Jewish or Muslim or Christian. There is people die for the reason of political people. They want to control, keep out of the government. They want to do that. So, what I want to say, the Jewish people, some are normal people, or the Jewish people, normal people. There is a human people, Jewish. There is a human people, Christian. There is a human people, Muslim people.
Thank you, Sharif.
Sorry for.
No, you listen. You're fine. Your English was fine. I understand everything you said. Thank you for your shit. Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna go to Dr. Baby, then Pikachu, and then Cynic and Shepard, and Bruce. Dr. Baby, good morning.
Hey y'all, what's up?
What's up? You tell me. You came to the stage. You want to say something?
Yeah, so basically, I think you know me. So I'm Kurdish. I think many people here know me already. I'm a Zionist Kurdish Noahide. We're not Persians and we're not Iranians. We don't identify as Iranians. We do not consider ourselves as Iranian. We have actually national anthem that talks about this and says we're neither Arabs, neither Iranians, neither Turks. There's a reason we do not identify with these names is because it's our occupiers. So to come to today's world and today's war, which is, Iran war, that have been happening for 45 years, 47 to be exact.
Is she in the Matrix or it's just me?
Yeah, I can't hear her.
Dr. Baby, you're in the Matrix, Doctor. So I'm gonna have to come back to you. Good morning, Pikachu. Wait, Doctor, you're in the Matrix. I'm gonna come back to you, Doctor. Pikachu.
Can you hear me?
JB, you alright? Yes, Doctor. Yeah, I'm gonna come back to you. Let Pikachu go because you're in the Matrix. Because you're in the Matrix. How many times I gotta repeat it? I said it 5 fucking times. Clean your ears. Pikachu, go ahead.
Sorry, but can you not scream at me? I'm not doing anything wrong.
Please go, Pikachu.
Thanks. JB, thanks for having me up on stage. I appreciate that. So look, I mean, I just wanted to talk about this Greater Israel myth and why it's totally fake and what's made up. I mean, this is a politically weaponized, one of the hundreds of politically weaponized narratives that we hear quite a lot. So you've probably seen that scary looking map online. I don't know, you may have seen it on there was a fake AI image that went around about this map that was on IDF soldiers, that Israel supposedly wants to expand from the Nile to the Euphrates, basically taking over Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, and much more. It sounds like a Zionist empire plan, right? So, well, look, I mean, this is complete and utter nonsense. So just going back to what Norm said earlier, that the whole program of Israel establishing a decolonized state. So, I mean, look, the phrase comes from actually Genesis 15.18, which is a spiritual covenant between God and Abraham. For Jews, it's a theological idea, not a territorial one at all. Judaism has never had a modern plan to conquer all that land. In fact, most Jewish thinkers treat it as a symbol, not as a call to kind of redraw any form of borders. Now, the biggest issue behind this myth is that in 1982 there was an article by an Israeli writer named Oded Yinon, and he speculated that breaking up hostile Arab regimes might help Israel's security. Was it government policy? Absolutely not. Was it adopted by Israel? Totally no, absolutely. It was just one man's opinion in a fringe journal. That's what came about. But anti-Israel groups ran with it, and they claimed that it was Israel's secret plan. That's how a fringe op kind of became a Zionist blueprint in the eyes of all these conspiracy theorists. So in reality, Israel's actions prove completely the opposite if you actually look at the history of Israel. Because in 1979, Israel gave back the entire Sinai Peninsula. And if they really wanted to do the Greater Israel Expansion Plan, they would have taken that and kept it for themselves. And that is a massive area. I mean, they gave that back to Egypt for peace. That alone disproves any idea of expansionism. And also, look, if you look at Israel's wars and borders, they haven't come from religious prophecy. They've come from simply defending itself. Even through peace deals. Coming out of Gaza in 2005. I mean, that's another piece of proof. I mean, a lot of people like to disprove, Arik Sharon's plans at the time, but Zionism doesn't mean world domination, folks. It means simply just for Jews. This is just for Jews. It just simply means a safe national homeland for us. Nothing more and nothing less. So I just wanted to be clear, this Greater Israel Project is not an Israeli policy, and it's not a Zionist goal, and there's no real plan for it.
Sharif, mute up, man. Sharif, mute up. Thank you. So here's the deal. Where could you go?
No, I'm here.
Oh, he's right there. Okay. So here's the deal. Somebody came up on stage talking about the Greater Israel Project, and then when Norm pulled her card, said, explain it, she's down in the VIP section. She didn't want to engage. She wanted to gaslight, and when nobody fell for it, she ran away. But Pikachu, let me come back to you in a little bit, because I have to get to the sensitive people on the app.
Yeah, go for it.
Because they're very, hold on, Norm, they're very entitled. So when I explain to them 5 times, I can't hear you because you're in the fucking Matrix, but then you want to keep going on, let me run my room. But Dr. Baby, good morning.
I couldn't hear you, JB.
I just said good morning. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is good morning. Can you say good morning back?
No, I'm not sensitive. I think I fought more terrorists than you have, so let's be clear.
You probably have. You probably have. Did you want to speak on the subject?
Yeah,
or you want to keep crying?
I have.
Okay.
So, yeah, I want to speak to the subject because there's a lot of misinformation that's coming around and going around, which actually is very sensitive time, critical time, and people need to hear this. So right now what's happening is nobody's uprising inside of Iran because nobody wants a Shah to be in the picture or Khamenei to be in the picture. So people saw some hacked television having Shah's face on it, and he was saying, uprise for me, while nobody likes the Shah inside of the Iran. Neither the Persians, neither the Kurds, neither the Baluch, neither the Arabs, neither the Azeris. Nobody likes the Shah. So basically what happened was people did not uprise. Why did they not uprise? Because they saw his face and they were like, oh my God, the Western powers want to bring this piece of shit back? And everybody stopped. Nobody went to the streets, neither moved a needle. The only way for anybody to move a needle in that country would to be a Kurdish uprising. And I will tell you why. Because Zinjan Azadi, Women Life Freedom, started by a Kurdish woman being killed, and the Kurdish towns burned Iran to ashes, like in a lot of areas. Even Iran had to bring Hezbollah in to keep the Kurdish areas calm. So, way that you can take down a regime without the Kurds or the minorities, and the only people who have boots on the ground are the Kurds and the Arabs and the The Persians are all in the IRGC themselves. Unless they're gonna defect, which they're not defecting from the IRGC and saying that Shah should be back. So therefore you have no other options but to work with the minorities, which they have an opposition, real opposition, not some fake television from Cryaspora in LA, talking about fantasy stories. People have critical time. You don't have to talk about La La Land story from thousands of years ago, some like fake stories that they sell us online. I'm not here to buy anybody's stories. I'm here to save 2 people, okay? 2 nations, big nations. And these two big nations need to be heard. And the people who are going around and speaking for the Kurdish people, speaking for the people from inside of Iran, are all grifters. You've been grifted if you have listened to anybody that talks about Shah coming back, because guess what? Nobody has the boots on the ground that is called Shah supporters. He doesn't have an army, doesn't have a command, network, or shadow government. He has zero.
Okay, Dr. Baby, Dr. Baby. Hold on, Sarah, hold on. I want to go to Masha, then Sarah, and I want to give Dr. Baby a chance to reply after they're done. Masha.
David, you need to put me in line too.
I got you. Go ahead, Masha.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, baby, you said that you don't consider yourself as an Iranian. So why are you so worried about the future of Iran? Don't be worried about that.
Yeah, when you talk about Iranians, you're talking about.
See, this is exactly why I have an issue with you, because you have this entitlement that you can just interrupt her when she didn't interrupt you.
No. I'm asking her a question because this is a conversation.
Let her finish. Let her finish. Let her finish, and then Sarah's gonna go. And I told you I'll give you a chance to rebuttal. But Emma.
Thank you, BJ. So we Iranians are there, and we'll make our country. So don't worry about it. First of all, then as my last sentence or last words here, I would say Iranians are observing the situation very carefully, and they are looking for that specific moment to come out in the streets after Israeli army could clean up the IRGC and the Basij forces from the streets, so there would be no suppression in the streets, and they will finish the job. They have this popular opposition figure who is Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince, and now people call him King Reza II, and the people will bring him in power. Not any foreign country. Let me make it clear to you. He's the most famous and beloved opposition figure in Iran right now. And the people will finish the work and they will make their country. If you consider yourself as an Iranian, we will welcome you. And that would be your land. And we can make it together in the future. And then if not, then no discussion between us. And that's it. And thank you, BJ, for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, no, of course, you can speak all the time, but it's JB, not BJ.
JB,
did she just call you a blowjob?
Thank you for that.
She did, but she's cute, so I don't care. Sarah, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I want to quickly say something for the audience because a lot of people have no idea what this woman is talking about. So, you know how some Americans, they don't like the president, they're like, Trump is not my president, or Biden is not my president.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Hey, whoever's talking,
you cannot even compare America to Iran. You're
I'm talking. I'm talking.
You are nothing.
Mute yourself. So you know how some Americans say Biden's not my president? Jay, are you going to move her or mute her?
Can we have one mic on Sarah, please?
So you know how some Americans, they say Trump is not my president? We do have about 5 to 10% of Kurds, Baluchis. I'm going to repeat, 5 to 10% of their entire population, they don't want to be part of Iran and they want to separate. As of today, they are Iranian because Kurdistan is inside Iran. And what that 5% say, the 95% do not repeat. I have many, many Kurdish friends on this app, Iranian Kurdish friends, and they're going to come here. If you want, I can ping them in another time, and they'll come here and they're going to tell you that people like her are people who took a few blocks in Seattle, you know, and they called it Summer of Love, remember? What she says is not true. Do not fall for this kind of bullshit. And you know what? Kurdish people, not only they're Iranian, like it's just we have different ethnicities. We have Turks, we have Arabs, we have Kurds, we have different ethnicities in Iran. And all of those ethnicities, there's 5 to 10% of them who want to separate. So that's completely bullshit what this lady's saying.
Everybody, hold on. I'll pick at you. Hold on. Everybody, hold on. So, Dr. Baby, I have a question for you, and I'm being serious. I'm just trying to get some clarity. You keep using the word grifter. Why are they grifters, in your opinion, Doctor?
Okay, so JB, unlike this lady, we have boots on the ground, and unlike this lady, she has no knowledge what's going on inside. And like this lady, I actually have something to lose. I don't live in America, and do not compare Shah King to Trump. It's not even possible. You're comparing two different people. Iranians are not like Americans, nothing like them. Actually, you guys are terrorizing a whole region. America's not terrorizing anybody. So that's first point. Second point is, yes, they are grifter, JB. We actually found out that Shah has been grifting off of everybody and selling everybody a lie about us inside of the country, actually saying, oh, the Iranian people are all my supporters. He has zero supporters. Israel hacked their TV and Shah asked them to uprise, and not even a needle was moved. And that's your evidence that these people are grifters, and especially this lady who has no idea what she's fucking talking about. She lives in fucking America, talking about Middle East. You're not Iranian. You're an American today. Be proud. You have nothing to lose.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on. Jesus Christ, ladies. It's fucking Saturday morning. Take a breath. Let me just say something real quick. Anthony, Jordan, Nye, El Normo, TC, I got to step away for 5 minutes. Can you guys run it real quick and try to keep some decorum? Any of the mods there? TC, Norm?
I'm here.
All right, guys. I'm going to hand it to you guys for just a few minutes. If these ladies want to continue to pull their pigtails, be my guest. I don't care. I'll be back.
Can we ask her to speak a few words in Farsi?
Yes,
I want to see if she's even Farsi. First of all, I want to make sure you're Iranian and not even Iraqi.
I will tell you. Wait. Let me
Please let her up.
I'm not going to speak in gay language.
She can't speak in Farsi. She can't speak in Farsi.
چطوری کشکش دارم
That is not Farsi. She has a strong accent. That's not Farsi.
Okay, one mic.
Okay, so she asked me a question, let me answer.
You couldn't speak Farsi, doctor. You can't speak Farsi.
Let me finish. Okay. I was born in 1993. When my family left your fucking regime, Shah regime, it was 1975. 1975, went to Kurdistan, Iraq.
Jeez, you guys love how I call this bitch out.
I don't, because I don't have to. I'm Kurdish.
Sarah, let her speak. Sarah, please let her
I'm Kurdish. I don't have to speak your gay language. I'm Kurdish. I have to speak.
The lady is obviously racist.
I don't have to speak.
She's insulting an entire.
I don't have to speak your language. You're nobody. I don't speak your language. You're my oppressor. Why should I speak your language?
You're not
your gay
Iranian.
language. I spoke to you in your own language. You couldn't even answer me.
You
couldn't
are
even answer me in Farsi
Iraqi,
because
and you hate Israel.
You
That's why you're
so
supporting.
long ago.
That's why you're supporting IRGC. Shut the fuck up.
To me.
She's anti-Semitic too?
Oh. Did she call me an anti-Semite?
Yeah.
Bitch.
Hang on. Wait, guys. I
That
muted
was
the room for
Sabina.
1
That was
second.
not me.
Hang on. This is a musical interlude. I'm going to sing to you in Farsi. Parchame Falestizi bo con tu conet. All right, we'll take down the temperature. You can translate that if you want. Please go one at a time.
That's fine. You can put the Palestinian flag in their asses.
Okay, do we need to start a queue? Do we need to start a queue until JB gets back? Sarah, did you want to have a comeback and after Sarah or?
Yeah, I'll just say 2 sentences, Nye. Thank you. I just called her out. Like, I mean, we have a lot of Iranians.
You lied.
We have a lot of.
Okay, hold on. Let's just let Sarah land.
We have a lot of Iranians. We have a lot of Iranians. Oh my God!
Here, I can speak
Doctor,
for myself.
please.
Iranians spoken for me for thousands of
Doctor.
years. Stop speaking for me.
Doctor, let her finish, please.
And why? This is the same thing on the ground. They try to speak for us.
They oppress them,
I
yep.
don't want her to speak for me.
Okay, I
Didn't she say she was raised
You're
in
an
Iraq?
occupier.
And then she tells me I'm not Iranian. This woman is
Okay,
not
ladies.
Iranian.
Ladies, peace.
You're
Just hold
not
on,
even
doctor.
in Iran. Shut up.
Okay, hold on.
And why? Sarah's racist. She calls everyone anti-Semitic, and she's saying the same thing about Doctor now.
And I'm a
Okay,
Zionist.
so we should just. So how about is
Me too.
can we just move past this now? Would any other speakers like to join in? Because I don't think I
I
don't
want
think the
to
room
land.
was-
She didn't let me talk. Are you
Okay, let's-
rewarding her?
No, Sarah. Let's let Sarah land. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my point of what I was saying is for the audience who don't know about Iran, and even the Iranian Kurds, we do have 5-10% that say, "Oh, we're not Iran. We don't want to be Iran."
Doctor,
Can you move her to the audience so I can talk and then bring her back?
Okay, doctor, I don't like to move people to the audience. I really don't, but I will bring
She's
you
not
back
letting
up.
me talk, and I like to get what I'm saying. I want to say this.
Exactly. I just want Sarah to land, doctor. No disrespect. You can come right back up. Let's just let Sarah land.
Yeah, and why they're saying really bad stuff in the chat though. They're saying Kurds are dirty and stuff like that.
All right,
And I think Sarah's friends saying these things.
Okay.
Sabina, you're the one who told me.
Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me.
Be raped by
Please don't talk to me. I didn't say that. Please don't talk to me. Thanks.
Shut up.
Okay, let's just
The comments are in the chat.
I have an idea. Let's don't mention each other's name. Let's not trigger each other, not necessary. Let's talk about the issues. We have some people from the region, and it'd be interesting to hear what they have to say. I will give you my New York perspective. I'm not as smart as they are on these matters. Number one, we support the Iranian people. They're a beautiful, beautiful people with a great history, great art, great cinema, great music, great food. And we want them to be free and out from under the thumb of this murderous, genocidal Iranian revolutionary, quote-unquote, regime that is now in charge that has spread terror around the world. I'm going to mention small thing. I am familiar that the Kurdish people have long wanted a country in self-determination, and it is my personal opinion that people deserve self-determination. And the
If
Kurds have
majority
also
wants
been...
it, Norm. That's 10% of Iran.
Sorry,
If the majority
okay.
wants it.
Okay, I'm not saying one way or the other. This is for you to decide. I'm not from there.
The first grassroots movement, the Kurdish independence, started inside of Iran, by the way.
Okay, again, this is for you guys to decide. So if this regime, IRGC genocide regime, falls, the one thing we don't want is for you to be at each other's throats. That's the worst possible thing. The best possible thing would you become a democratic and liberal society with equal rights for everybody and tolerance for each other. That's my opinion. I'll mute up.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say.
Please,
One mic, please, y'all.
Can I have one mic on me?
Hold up, please. Okay, Sheriff, I got you, y'all. Let Sarah land. If y'all don't let her land, this is gonna go on, and she's determined to get her point out. Let
I am
Sarah
gonna get my
land,
point out. Thank you. And
and then we'll move on. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, so this woman who told me that I'm not Iranian, who lived in Iran till my mid-20s, and somehow she, now that I called her out that she's not Iranian, and every Iranian in this room can tell you she's not Iranian, then she says, no, I was raised in Iraq, that's why I don't have Iranian accent. She is not even Iranian. So I want people to know that. And pay attention, all these people who come in these rooms and support IRGC, people who are supporting IRGC, they are all non-Iranians. They're majority, like 95%, 99% non-Iranian. I just want people to pay attention.
61% of the country is non-Iranians.
Okay, pause. We're gonna go to Sheriff, ladies.
Thank you, mate.
Anyway, before you go, I just want to make something clear. Arabs inside of Iran are not Iranians. Baluch inside of the country are not Iranians. The Kurds are not Iranians. We're different ethnic minorities.
Hold on. Let's just let
Shut up. We're not Iranians. The Arab. How can you refer to an Arab, Ahwazi, living inside of Iran as an Iranian? They are not Iranians. Kurds are not Iranians. Baluch are not Iranians. We're not Iranians.
You are the Arab.
Listen, it's very simple. It's very simple to understand. I do not speak for people who are Persian. The Persians do not have the right to speak.
We got you. Hold on.
I will speak.
Okay, Nima, no, wait. Sheriff was waiting. We're gonna go Sheriff, and then Nima, you got it. Go ahead.
Thank you, and I want to say something. Who gives the direction? Who gives the other government can be control the decision for another countries, even the United States or Europe or Israel or Egypt or any country? Who gives the control for the other government to control in another account. Even in Iraq, in Iran, in Israel, in Palestine, in whatever, whenever. We cannot say that. We cannot say that. We are human. We cannot repeat what the political people said. We are democratic people. We call the democratic people. How we talk about the democracies, and we talk about control another government in another countries. We cannot say that. We cannot say that. Sorry. Thanks.
Thank you. We're gonna go to Nima. If anybody would like to
Excuse me, my name is Dariush because it's alphabet Persian. You cannot see me. I'm here a long time.
Hi, Dariush. Hi, Dariush.
Okay. So the guy with the blue, hold on, the guy with the blue PTR, he has been waiting. I guess you want to speak first. Nima, no disrespect, he has been waiting. So we'll go with the guy with the blue PTR. Doctor, by the way, for the record in the audience, I did not move you to the audience, just for the record. So we'll go to the guy. I see you with the blue PTR, Daru, and then we'll go to Nima.
Thank you so much. Guys, I'm so sorry. I have to go. You see, guys, Iranian people, they are united. It doesn't matter you are Jewish, you are Christian, you are Muslim, Shia, whatever you are. We are united. And we love our country. It doesn't matter which religion you are. It doesn't matter which culture you have. We are Persian. This lady, I'm sorry, guys, I cannot talk very fast. This lady, she's coming, I don't know. She's from Kurdish, Iraqi, Paraki. She's from Syrian, Merian, Kurdish, Turkish. She's coming to this room and she said, oh, without Kurdish, you cannot have a revolution. Guys, we Iranian people from Balochistan to Mazandaran, everywhere we are united. We have one flag, one nation, and we love each other. This lady, she tried to separate us. Lady, please shut up and go to hell, motherfucker. I'm so sorry if I say bad word, guys. This lady, she is not Persian. She is Arab.
What? Yes, I'm not Persian. I'm Kurdish.
So the next speaker, no cursing and no insulting people on the stage, please. This is what my understanding is. You have many ethnic groups in this Persian Empire or Iranian Empire, and many of these ethnic groups are speaking out on behalf of their own freedom and independence.
She's
and
not
self-determination.
Iranian.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's not the point. It's not the point. This is an open forum. Let's just not speak over each other or insult each other. We can have different opinions, but Americans, this is mainly an American room, no offense, although we're not very educated about your people in your country. We need to understand. I still don't know what a Baluchi person is. I'm only learning about who the Kurdish people are. So you have to, without fighting with each other, you have to educate us, and please don't insult the call names. I thought Daniel was next. Is that fair?
Hold on a second.
No, Nima's next.
Okay, sorry.
Guys, let me just do a quick room reset, and then we'll go by cue. But I definitely want to get Hope in the conversation. Hope you hang out for a little bit so you can get in. Guys, this is Healthy Debates. Israel versus the IRGC. I changed it to IRGC because it seemed to bother a few people when I said Israel versus Iran. Pseudo and anti-intellectuals welcome, and we see plenty of them on the stage today. Good morning, Caroline Rin. I see you. Mike in the house. Another Mike. AJ, good morning. Guys, you have a pink ticket. Please cash it in. Ludwig, how you doing? I know you're anti-Semitic. That's fine. It's your opinion. So I'm going to hand it back to Nye, who seems to have the cue. And let's keep this civil conversation going.
Okay, really quick. It's on Nima. Who would like to go after Nima? I'll start a queue. So,
I would. At least that's when the queue ended.
Wait, hold on a second. Everybody, hold on a second. Nye, after whoever you just said, going to Hope after him.
Okay, so Nima, and then what do we say? And then
sometimes.
Okay, so this is what I have. I have Nima, Hope, Cynic, Daniel, and Shep, Rick. Cool? All right, go ahead, Nima.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, who's that? Who said that?
I am here. I'm Nima.
No. Who said, can you ask me
This is
anything?
Shamim. This is Shamim. Thank you.
Shamim. Okay, got it. Go ahead, Nima.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Sorry for my English, because my English knowledge is not very well. I'm just trying to say what I want to say. Maybe Sarah can help me. I am Kurdish from Iran, and I would like to say some other Kurdish, like a baby or any other Kurdish from all of the world cannot decide for me. I want to be Iranian because I am Iranian. I want to take my country back from this horrible Islamic Republic. It doesn't matter. Some person like babies say I'm Kurdish. My mother language is Kurdish. My mother language also is Kurdish, but I love Persian language also. I love سارا ببخشید یه سری جمله ها رو من نمیتونم. ادبیات فارسی من عاشق ادبیات
Farsi literature. He says that he loves Farsi literature, even though his language is Kurdish.
Persian culture because they are really nice people. Why should you make a hate between us? It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter when you want to have your own your country. Okay, let's do it. But I want my country, Iran. When you don't want to be part of us, it's you decide. It's not. You cannot speak for me.
Thank you, Nima. I think next in the queue is Hope. Hope, good morning, Hopi.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Fantastic. How you doing? Enjoying this beautiful weather. Enjoying this beautiful weather in New York today.
It's nice today. It's not too hot. It's much hotter on the stage than it is in New York right now. But yes, it's nice. It's not raining. It's not too hot, so I'm liking it. But I wanted to come up. I don't like talking very often on stage, but I wanted to come up because I have to agree with Nima and Sarah that Doctor is not Iranian. Even
this is what they do on the ground too, by the way. This is what they do to us every day.
Even
they silence us. They try to silence us.
Please shut up. Shut up. It's my time. Shut up. It's my time.
We're gonna take the regime whether you like it or not.
One mic on hold, please. One mic on hold, please. One mic on hold.
Jay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Can you guys put it down until I finish talking, please, or else I'll just go and I won't say anything.
No. Hope somebody moved already. But go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. So, Kurdish Iranians consider themselves Iranians. They don't consider themselves Persians, but they consider themselves Iranians. Doctor is a separatist. She's not from Iran. She's trying to create division right now in Iran among the Kurds. Just please be careful when you're listening to these people. And when people who are Iranian on stage tell you that someone's not Iranian, believe them. That's it.
Hope, can I ask you a friendly question? For a friendly answer. Just educate me.
Sure.
The Kurdish people want self-determination, as far as I know. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Kurdish, I mean, in Iran, they want to be Iranian. I mean, they don't want. They
in
don't.
Iran or not in Iran. I just meant in general, they want a country.
In general, the Kurds who are in Iran, again, I'm not Kurdish, but you just heard from a Kurdish person. Kurds who are in Iran want to be Iranian. They don't want to be something separate. Kurds who are in Iraq and in Turkey and all the other Arab countries want to be separated. Iranians have treated, before the IRGC, treated all Iranians, regardless of their religion, their race, or whatever, equally. So no, they don't want to separate. The people like Doctor want to cause this division to make everyone
Don't
think.
make it personal about her. Because,
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, I came up to respond to.
That's the whole point.
I came.
That's not what I'm asking, though.
Norma, I came up. I only came up because I wanted to talk about what she was saying. I came up for that particular reason. Because she's sitting there and she's telling all the Iranians on the stage that they're not Iranian, that they're not this, that they're not that, when these people are.
Okay.
I haven't lived in Iran, so if someone tells me you're not Iranian, okay, even though I am, but I wouldn't say that it's everything in my soul because I'm not there. But she has nothing to do with Iran.
All right.
He wants to separate.
No, let me say this to you real quick. And I say this respectfully, seriously, like sincerely. I know that you like that woman, but when I get 10 different Iranians telling me that she's not Iranian and she doesn't support the Iranian people, I kind of have to believe, especially somebody like Hope. Hope never comes on stages.
She's very credible. Hope is credible. I know this.
So before we continue with the next speaker, I want to say good morning to Rolo. Rolo, good morning. Good afternoon.
JB, I just want to.
Hold on, L. Hold on, bro.
God, no.
Rohan, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Bro, you are harder to reach than Trump, man. I send you messages on IG, and I just don't get it. I wanted you in here like 2 hours ago, man.
Oh, mate, I've been busy, but I appreciate it.
How dare you have a life?
God damn it. I'm trying not to have a life and just spending more time on here like I should be. Really interesting topic. I've got somebody I'm going to try and bring in who is an incredible speaker on this topic of Iran. She's got some history with the land, and I'm going to see whether I can get in contact with her and see if she grace us with a presence. So I'll see what I can do here. But look, I understand there are different stories that are circulating about identities in terms of Kurdish and Iranian and so forth. I am not really clear on it. I'd love to be able to hear from a few different people on that. If the conversation goes in that direction, all the better. Hey, Norm, great to see you. And let's get on with the show.
Thank you, Rohan. So before I go back to Norm, I brought Doctor back up. Guys, attack the point, not the person. And like I said, look, I go on who I've been around. I've been around the Hope for a few years. I've never heard her say anything that made me look at her sideways. So, but I'm not going to steal somebody's identity if they say that that's who they are. If that's who she wants to claim to be, hey, that's on her. So, Norm, I apologize. I know you had a question or something you wanted to say.
Well, thank you for that, JB. And hi again, Ro. I think the 20,000 foot view, as they say, and I'm not talking about from an Israeli fighter jet over Tehran. The 20,000 foot view is that the Iranian people do not want their country to split into, a dozen pieces as a result of this. They want freedom, but they don't want balkanization. The way the former Yugoslavia split into Croatia and Serbia and Bosnia and Republika Srpska and all that stuff. So they want to keep their country, their diverse, multi-ethnic country together, but they want to get rid of this repressive genocidal regime. So this is the interesting question. Sometimes it takes a totalitarian dictatorship with authoritarian tendencies and secret police in order to keep all these different ethnic groups together. So the question is, can Iran sustain itself and offer equal rights and freedom to its people without splitting up into a bunch of different pieces? I think that's what I'm hearing here. That's all I wanted to say.
But Israel is not even doing that in Israel with Palestinians.
I want to.
Well, I'm willing to discuss that, but that's yes. The Palestinians do have
one mic.
Wait, let me just finish responding. Yes, everybody in Israel has completely equal rights under the law. So your comment was off base, but go ahead.
Wait. Hold on a second. Doug, you can't just walk in and I know you got that energy, bro, but we got a queue going on. So, but I want to give Doctor a chance to say what she had to say. Doctor, you got a minute, and then I'm going to hand it back to Naya, who has a queue. Thank you.
No, of course. I just wanted to say that the Kurds, vast majority of time, ask for a federal government where there is a decentralized type of a government, like a federal government like America, to have the right to speak their own language, to have their own identity, to be recognized as humans, as the Kurdish people, not some bunch of Iranians who their resources being stolen for over 100 years, and their cities, literally, some of them do not even have basic human rights or water. So the Kurds have asked for separation. And the first time happened in 1946 until the Shah annexed it and killed the leaders. And then the second time it was during the second Shah, which they also asked again, they were betrayed and killed again. And the third time it was with the Khamenei, who also lied about it, who said that he's gonna give rights to the Kurds, and actually he killed them, and there was 10,000s of bodies being hanged and killed. So the Kurds have an experience with this Iran thing, and that's why the vast majority of the Kurds are so sick and tired of this narrative going around saying that they are Iranians, because the Kurds died to not be called Iranians.
Doctor, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question respectfully? So, a lot of, I mean, we've shared space before, but I don't know you, obviously. But why are so many people who I know are Iranian saying not even Iranian? I mean, you're getting so much smoke, and I can't understand it. Why is that?
So the Kurds have been oppressed by Iranians for a long time. You have to understand, they cannot just give away their oppressing ideologies against a nation that they have oppressed so many years. They will not give up on attacking a person whenever they speak. They kill us literally. When we speak up inside of Iran, we get killed for it. So you have to understand what's happening on the stage is same exactly what's happening.
She lied. She really
why would I like Google it? Google it. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. Search yourself. Don't believe me. If you don't believe me, search for yourself.
Wait, hold on, Doctor, darling. Just put a couple of links in the chat to back up what you're saying.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you so much. But before I go to Nye, who has a queue, Anthony, are you there, Anthony, by any chance?
Yes, sir.
Anthony Edwards? Man, I just want to say thank God we're not having a race conversation today. So I wanted to say. I'm gonna go to Nye. Nye, you got the queue, hon?
Okay, sure. Cynic was next, but I don't see him in the room, so we're going to Daniel, Shipwreck, Shaman. Anybody want to speak after Shaman? Sano, I see Sano blinking. Anybody after Sano?
I will put Thug on that list, please.
Who? Thug, okay. And for the record, Dr. Baby, we won't be, if we keep dropping you to the stage, you know, the mods only have so many invites before we exhaust our invites, so please be cool so you can continue to participate in the conversation, because if you keep getting dropped, we might not be able to bring it back up.
Getting dropped, but why don't you just drop some Iranians who are attacking me constantly?
I understand, no, but I'm not the one dropping you, just so you know, I dropped you one time, the other times I did not. And I think you're only being dropped interrupted.
That was me, and that's right.
Yeah,
that's
no worries.
The only reason I drop her is because she doesn't have mic control. But if she's cool, I'll let her speak all day. I don't give a shit.
Okay, so we're going to Daniel. Go ahead, Daniel, and after Daniel is Shepwreck.
Thank you, Nye, for keeping the queue. I know it's not fun, so thank you. At this point, I don't want to derail the conversation somewhere else. And that we're talking about more like internal Iran things. So I just gotta say that what the Israel is doing is about removing threats, and it's a great opportunity and a one in a lifetime chance for the Iranian to be liberated. But at the end of the day, it will not be anyone's decision against the Iranian people. We won't accept the Iranian people. They will have to make up the move. They will have to put this last nail in the regime's coffin. It will not be done by any other forces. But because this conversation is right now on internal Iranian people, so I will maybe come back again later when we are talking more like geopolitics and stuff like this.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Go ahead, Shepwreck.
Hey, thanks. This kind of works out well because we have a lot of Iranian nationals in the room. And to kind of go off of El Norman's talk about the totalitarian governments within that region of the world, having spent 3.5 years of myself in Iraq through those wars and watching the new government come in place, and then towards the pullout, seeing the fall of the regime, is there a reason or something you could kind of pose to us where the same thing wouldn't happen in Iran if this conflict does facilitate a regime change, and why there is such a propensity for a totalitarian government to work so well in that part of the world?
Let me just ask, who are you asking that question to?
I was asking it to the Iranian nationals because we have some Kurds in there, and there was a couple other as well. Yep. Just, like I said, not being super knowledgeable about Iran and that particular country, but having seen it firsthand in other parts of the Middle East and seeing it vicariously through news and other channels for other countries outside of Iraq, just wondering why the totalitarian government seems to be kind of the working system over there, and there has been multiple revolutions in different countries, and it seems to kind of come back to that. So that's what I was going to get an insight from nationals there and how they're going to keep it from happening there, like it has in so many other.
Any Iranian nationals on stage want to answer that? Flash your mic, please.
I honestly didn't understand his question.
Sarah, he said, what assurance do we have that if this regime fell, that it wouldn't break into a million pieces like Iraq, and that something even worse than what we have now would fill the vacuum? Is that fair, Ship, that I expressed your question?
Yes, that's a good one. And then also, like, what are your insight as to why totalitarian governments work so well in that area, and why, when there is different forms introduced, that they typically fail? Like in Iraq, there was 2 or 3 different instances of governments that went through into place that all couldn't necessarily hold the power, so to say.
Yeah, so I can answer that question, though, but I do believe I talked about this earlier, though. Iran, they have a 2,700 years of monarchy, and in the last 46 years, we had the IRGC. They did not ever have Sharia law in Iran, even though majority of Iranians are Muslim. The religion and state were not mixed until 46 years ago. So to compare Iran to its neighboring countries, I'm not trying to be racist. I know people are going to say that, but they're just different, because the neighboring countries, Iraq, Syria, Libya, like all these countries that we saw the civil war in them, they've had Sharia law from the 7th century, from the 700 years. So it's like, what, 1,500 years or something like that, 1,300 years. It's just different. As far as how do you know it's not going to like break a civil war, you never know. How do you know? Nobody can say. I mean, unless you have a crystal ball, you can't tell that. But the one thing you can be sure is that majority of Iranians, they are nationalists, though. Even though earlier we had, like, you know, people on the stage saying that, oh, like, I'm Iranian Kurd and we want separating, blah, blah, blah. We do have about 5 to 10% of the Kurds they want to separate, but they're not more than 10%. And the Kurds, Iranian Kurds on this app, they block those people. They don't even allow them in the Farsi rooms that they open themselves. We have about 5 to 10% of Baluchis that they want to separate. We have about 5 to 10%, maybe more of Turks. Maybe the Turks are like closer to 20, 25% who want to separate. But the majority of Iranians, they don't want the country to break. And this has been one of the biggest propagandas IRGC has used in the last 46 years to stay in power, because that is how nationalist Iranians are and how much they want to stay together. They've always said, if we go, Israel and West, they want to separate you. Israel wants you separated. West wants you separated. You know, and everybody knows this. Those Iranian Kurds know this. If they separate, it's going to make it weaker. Name one country that split into pieces and it didn't get weaker. So that is my answer, you know, but there is no real guarantee for what you're asking.
Excuse me, my name is Dariush. Can I say something? My car is double parked, guys. They keep
Dariush, one thing, I know you would like you, but please don't curse out people, okay? Don't go by name. Just talk about the issue.
No. Oh, God love you, sir. No, I never do that.
Yes, God love you. Well, you just did that last time you were up, if you recall. God love you.
You see, guys, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for this room. Really, guys, we love you. Guys, I want to tell you with all of my bottom my heart, I want to say Iran is one part. If somebody want to try to separate us, we have a hot bullet for his brain. You don't like Iran, please go. Please, whatever you want to do. But we don't give it your land, my friends. This land is belong to Britain. You know, this belongs to over 3,000 years, 7,000 years. You think we want to separate it? Go ahead, go to hell. Okay, I'm sorry if I say bad word. Guys, we are one nation. We are one flag. We are not, listen, we have a Jew, we have a Christian, we have a Muslim, we have different language in my country. All come. We love them. But they want to be separated. We have a hot bullet for their brain. I'm sorry, guys, if I say something.
Okay, I sent him down. Twice on the stage, he threatened to murder somebody.
He didn't threaten to murder anybody. He was saying if you try
He
to
said he has a hot bullet for their brain.
Right. No. If they try to separate their country, he did not.
All right. Next opinion. We don't have to listen to somebody threatening to put a bullet in somebody's brain. Yeah.
Hey, doctor, I spoke so many times. I haven't spoken even once. So why
Hold on a second. Everybody mute up. First off, Sam, now you're lying because you spoke earlier. So I complimented you on your PTR. Now, I'll tell you why I'm giving Dr. Grace, even though I don't really know this lady. It's because she's standing on her square, and she seems to speak for a segment of whoever her people are. I don't know who she is and who her people are.
You know who I am.
Hold on a second. No, I don't. But I'm going to give you 30 seconds because you have speakers that haven't gone yet, and then I'm going to go back tonight and run the queue. Yeah, Doc.
Yeah, you forgot who I am, but you know me. But okay, so basically, yes, Persian Empire was a decentralized government for one simple reason. They had different kingdoms under the Persian Empire because these were not the same people. They were not all Persians. They had multiple kingdoms under the Persian Empire. Same like today, Iranian Empire, who occupied all of these lands, are actually not all Iranian Persians. Persians are a minority. When you look at the numbers, all of the people inside of Iran, Persians make up 27 million all of the country. Then you have 25 million Azeris, then you have 18 million Kurds, then you have 10 million are not Iranians, Baluch are not Iranians, Kurds are not Iranians, definitely Turks are not Iranians. Then you have the Persians who call themselves Iranians. Then you have assimilation tactics that happen over the years. Some people do call themselves Iranians because they are afraid to even speak for their identity, just like when the Jewish people were under different countries and empires, they had to say some of the things about themselves that they did not even agree with. So vast majority of the Kurds do not want to be called Iranians. They want to be called Kurdish from Kurdistan.
Maybe Iraqi Kurds, not Iranian Kurds. You're not
Iranian Kurds.
Sarah.
No, JB, this is not okay.
I'm going to jump in here real quick, okay? Sarah, I've given you a lot of grace. And guys, do me a favor. Don't mod anybody. Thank you very much. Let me run my room. So land your plane, doctor, and then we're going to go to news.
Of course. So, listen, my family ran away from Iran. Half of my family. Some of them ended up in actually America. Some of us ended up in Kurdistan, Iraq, which they gave us an asylum, our Kurdish families. So we Kurds are all same people from Kurdistan, Iraq, Kurdistan, Turkey, Kurdistan, Syria, Kurdistan, Iran. We're all one people. We are Kurdish from Kurdistan. We are divided into four. There was actually in 1920 to give us a country, but then Sykes-Picot happened and they divided us into four. We're not Iranians, we're not Iraqis, we're not Syrians, and we're definitely not Turks. There was one of the first independent movement actually started from inside of Iran, Mahabad Republic, which was one of the first independent Kurdish self-governing era. And we were slaughtered by the Shah, and that's why you don't know about us. You don't know about my people because we were killed to not own. And every time I speak, you see how Iranians are jumping on my throat like crazy people, like inside of Iran, how they kill us just for saying that we're Kurdish.
Lie.
No, because
That's why
because
when you lie,
no,
Wait a second. Hang on. We're not going to do this. There's one mic policy in here. Okay, I don't care who is thinking that they've got the right to be able to speak over other people. It's not going to happen. Dr. Baby, please go ahead. Nobody interrupt her. Make your points short, salient, and to the point, if you could, please.
Yes,
Thanks.
of course. I don't want to take more time, and I also like have phone calls because there are stuff that I should do for my people, and like some people online that they waste my time and your time. So I want to be clear that there is a very good chance that there's gonna be only an uprising by the minorities, but not by the Persians. And unfortunately, even the foreign minister yesterday, when foreign minister of Israel posted something, they excluded the Persians as being oppressed by one simple reason, because the Persians were the ones oppressing all of the minorities. Then there is a very big, waking up by a lot of governments to see that actually these are grifters and they are only hijacking what's happening really. And Israel needs us actually right now. And I don't want Israel to be the only one in this fight. And as long as the Persians are hijacking this, it's going to be Israel alone. Why? Because nobody wants Shah back. Nobody wants Iranians, Persian empires. So the more this narrative goes around, there's going to be no uprising. But the moment that this dies out, you're going to see people rising up against this regime. There is actually a statement by the Kurdish leaders of the opposition of Iranian regime that they are saying that they are ready to fight, but for some conditions. And these conditions have to be met for a change to happen. And it's not only the Kurdish opposition, even the Baluch leader actually talked about it. Ahwazi leader is also talking about it. All of the opposition who have foot on the ground and weapons, who can change the regime, are talking about it. Israel is taking out, just let me give an update, Israel is taking out the capabilities of Iran to not harm the region, which meaning missiles, which Iranian regime doesn't need missiles to kill inside of the people. They don't need nuclear facilities. These are not created to kill inside of the people. The security forces are the ones killing the people. So Israel is taking out the threat from outside. So there will not be threat outside of from Iran to outside of the region, but from inside the threat is still ongoing. So that being said, there is a need for a grassroots opposition to this regime, for anything to be changed from inside. As long as that's not happening, yes, the nuclear facility will be bombed. Yes, the facilities of nuclear weapons will be gone. But one thing is going to be security forces, which we have to take it ourselves. Israel is not going to do it for us. Neither America, nobody's obligated to do that for us. We are obligated to do that for ourselves. So the grassroots movement against the regime are the real opposition of the regime, not some fake people online from LA speaking about our future. I just wanted to say that. I love you all, and I'm Israel Chai. Long live America and long live Kurdistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Guys, hold on. Nima. Thank you. Rohan, are you there?
Certainly am.
I got your message. Did you want to do what you wanted to do?
Yeah. Look, we're going to sort of have a bit of a shift in the room at the moment. It's going to be on the same topic. This person, who I will introduce shortly, has been doxxed, has been labelled, has been attacked on Clubhouse as well. I'm going to play a clip. Hopefully the audio is going to be okay. It's from a space from Twitter or X that was yesterday about US, Iran, and Israel and the current issues over there. This person's a member of the Healthy Debates community, as well as has a Clubhouse account. And she was a special guest panelist alongside a national security expert, military expert, political policy advisor, and a constitutional attorney as well. What I would like to do is play, I guess, some of the closing statement. It was basically a closing statement from the space from yesterday with the person's permission. Following me doing that, I'll open it up to questions. So bear with me for a second. I'll get the audio out. And JB, can you let me know if the audio is no good?
Absolutely.
Okay. Give me half a sec.
So far, no good, Rohan.
Countries in the Middle East and is failed every single time.
That's
But
perfect,
I will
Rohan.
allow Ozzy to speak, and then we're going to wrap up here. She had some closing statements. We're going to wrap up. Thank you all for coming. Go ahead.
Thanks, Brian. As you bring this to a close, I want to sort of return to a principle that has always defined my perspective from the start. Context matters, and we started talking about this context at the beginning with the panel, not just in geopolitics, but in personal life. And it matters because false narratives, whether at a national or individual level, they do have real human consequences. And I think that's at the core of some of the question that sparked this whole panel discussion, Brian. Recently, I've been targeted by coordinated harassment. And I would say recent probably is in this year, in 2025, as early as January, February. I think a Doxer account that was created was put in the nest here that was launched in March. Chaos agents online have doxed me, circulated, manipulated falsehoods about my family, shared photos of my minor son, and that tweet, that page that is pinned to your nest over there includes the photo of my son, who is a minor, and posted defamatory claims across platforms. I've received death threats, I've had my privacy invaded, I've been falsely labeled as affiliated with the regime. Let me be very clear. These aren't just attacks on me. They're part of a wider effort to suppress any voices that don't fit neatly into this pre-approved narrative that occurs in this box that we want. And we saw indications of it with different speakers on the panel and the diversity. And I appreciate what Malcolm had said earlier, what Dr. Strange just said, and many others. In response to this, I'm just going to say this once and for all on a recorded space. Multiple U.S. federal agencies, including the FBI and others that have been investigating these for decades, since 2021 and 2020 it happened, where I received boxes and packages at my home and my office and my family members. They have their position clear for me and my family, which gives me solace. And their statement to me and my family is, we know who you are. The United States knows you're not affiliated with the regime, and the truth about your background isn't really hard to find. I literally had an FBI tell me this a couple months ago. And he said, all people just have to do is want to find it. And Google is there to find it. These agencies are also actively monitoring the social media accounts and networks continuing to circulate the doxing content, including those sharing or amplifying images of my minor child, which constitutes a serious violation of federal law and digital safety protections. And I appreciate Sarah being here as a lawyer. I think she can attest to that. My grandfather, Dr. Ibrahim Yassi, served briefly as foreign minister after the 1979 revolution under the interim government of Prime Minister Bozargan. When the U.S. Embassy was seized, and this is all well known and documented, including declassified information, all you have to do again is go Google it. He resigned in protest on November 6th of 1979, warning it would derail the revolution or the movement and isolate Iran further. What's often omitted or deliberately erased, take it how you want, is that he also protested the hostage crisis. He stopped 2 other hostage crises that were going to happen before they actually happened. He opposed executions of political prisoners and spoke out early against the Iran-Iraq war. These positions are well documented, and they also cost him dearly. He was arrested, banned from political life, and eventually silenced. He later helped lead the Freedom Movement of Iran, a group dedicated to constitutional governance and civil liberties, and to bring Iran to the secular democracy that Munir was talking about, that was the intention of the revolution at some point. One often overlooked but deeply important part of his legacy is that he did play a direct role in helping secure the escape and safe passage of individuals who were on executions list, including Jewish Iranians, religious minorities. In fact, it's also documented that he supported a movement to bring to the forefront the persecution of Baha'is in Iran and others at risk in the immediate aftermath of the revolution. It's important to say this clearly from me, because some of the current doxing and coordinated harassment that I face that you all witnessed is rooted in a very deliberate effort to manipulate Jewish communities into hating me by spreading categorically false narratives about my grandfather and my family and who I am as an individual. Not who my grandfather was, not who my father was, but who I am. But the reality is facts matter, and so does historical integrity. And the historical integrity is extremely important, especially when we're talking about this stuff. Brian, you started talking about the Tucker Carlson interviews. We've seen Tucker Carlson even interview Dan Caldwell talking about the United States, you know, in this constant history of regime change wars. Now, it's also true that my grandfather worked with a wide range of political actors during his time, and back then, including Yasser Arafat, which is also used as a stick to hit me on the head with. And at the time, in the revolutionary context, because context matters, in the revolutionary context of the late 1970s, he and many others believed that such alliances were part of building solidarity among national liberal movements. However way you want to look at it now in 2025, in the 70s, we all have to admit that it was a time of just revolutionary. You know, we saw protests in America about different issues. We see them now still. Hindsight is always 2020, and like many historical figures, his choices reflected the climate of the revolutions at that time, where strategy and reality were often in tension. That doesn't mean I disavow that part of his record. I simply understand it for what it was, shaped by the urgency, chaos, and hope of that time. History is full of leaders who, with good intentions at that moment, made choices that today we might approach differently. And the decisions that are made today, we might look at in 10 years or 20 years and think we could have approached them differently. What has moved me most in all of this, even amidst the smears, is that people across political spectrums, including monarchists, have reached out with kindness and shared their respect for him. One recurring things that they've told me. Your grandfather once said, our biggest mistake during the revolution was saying, Farat Shah Bere, and in English that translates, let's just get rid of the Shah, and we will take care of the rest later. This reflection haunts me and many others, because I hear the same dangerous rhetoric now. Let's just get rid of this regime and we'll figure out the rest later. And if we're not careful, we're repeating the same mistake, in my humble opinion. And it won't be academics or activists who pay the price. It'll be, once again, everyday ordinary Iranians and voices like those that we heard on the stage. So no, I am absolutely not part of any regime. I've lived my entire life in the United States. I care about Iran as my family's heritage, but I don't live there, and it's not for me to decide its future. That is for the people of Iran to determine, and Malcolm said it best when he was here earlier.
Is that it, bro?
I also care deeply about this country that I live in. I care about American service members. I care about my friend who served in special operations, deployed last minute to Afghanistan to evacuate troops under the most impossible conditions. I care about friends who fought ISIS across multiple tours, only to now see some of the same figures they fought being rebranded and repurposed as political allies or presidents. That kind of narrative, whiplash takes a toll. Our military may continue to do what it's asked of them, but the public's trust in why is breaking down. And narratives around Iran and Israel right now are feeding that mistrust. That brings me to something I deeply appreciated on this panel, especially Malcolm's thoughtful comments on polling. And I think Dr. Strange brought it up too here. I'm sorry, I just have two more things. Two more minutes. Okay, I waited for 2 hours amidst all of that. We entered an era where polls are used as weapons. In one breath, we're told we can't trust anything from inside Iran because of fear, surveillance, and coercion. But in the next breath, those same sources are cited to validate convenient talking points. So which is it? If one poll is invalid because people are scared to speak, then so is the next. You can't pick and choose based on outcome. Methodology matters. Who conducted the poll? How were those questions asked? What layers of interpretation were added or removed? And in selective framing, this trend of historical revisionism is becoming a fad and now is common to flatten or distort the legacies of people to fit a simplistic binary of good or evil. But that revisionism doesn't serve truth. It only serves control. If we ever hope for a future based on justice and freedom, we have to confront the full history, even when it's convenient. So let me close with this. The real threat to progress, whether in Iran, in the US, or anywhere else, isn't disagreement. It's the refusal to tolerate complexity. Doxing, smearing, and bullying aren't activism, they're desperation. The metaphor that I always lean back on is, if an egg is broken by the outside, life ends. But if it breaks from within, life begins. And Iran's future, if it's going to be just and lasting, must come from within, not through bombs, not through memes, not through external engineering, but through voices seen across this panel, from military analysis to legal framing to cultural insight, has been vital. And Brian, I really appreciate what you've done here. What ties it all together is a reminder that culture, memory, and language are not side notes. They are the main thread. And if we can't speak in ways people recognize that they're lived truths, we're not actually building anything sustainable. We're just rearranging narratives. So to Alan, Brian, and Sarah, thank you for the depth and clarity you brought. Malcolm, his candor and honesty around data and public trust were refreshing. Brian, to you, the host, thank you. Not just for moderating, but for curating a space where nuance, disagreement, and integrity were actually welcomed. And I hope that we have more spaces like this. Thank you so much.
All right, so Rohan, you wanna have the dialogue? I just want to say, Miriam, I'm sorry, I had no idea that you went through all that, and I'm glad you're here. Rohan.
I'd like to maybe introduce this person on her terms, finally. After spending a long time in hiding, she's chosen to be able to take this opportunity right here and now, not just to be able to speak her piece, but to be able to have her face seen. I want to welcome Miriam.
Hi, everyone. Hi, JB and everyone.
I must say, when I heard your closing statements, I was absolutely blown away. Not just by what you were saying, but also how you were saying it so eloquently and how succinctly as well. I've been privy to having an element of exposure to what your history has been, and you've held that in confidence with me, and I have held that and make sure that it's on your terms when and if you ever wanted to be able to talk about what your history is, what your family has been through, and it's your turn to be able to shine. So I'd like to know, first of all, is there something you'd like to be able to add to what's already been said? Are there particular parts of what you've said that you'd like to be able to maybe focus on the conversation? And also, would you be open to having a Q&A in some way, shape or form?
Very supportive. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the respect for my privacy, not just from you all, but from so many other friends, some here, some not. So I want to first say thank you about that. And to navigate, sharing my voice, there's so many, it's very complex, it's a delicate dance between saying the right thing, saying what I believe, standing 10 toes down on something, and then also navigating the, I guess, hate or whatever you want to call it, from all sides actually, from the regime side, from the diaspora side, from all sides. And I think yesterday I just got to a point thinking about what's going on with Israel and Iran, this war, civilian deaths, casualties of war, the nuances of war, all of these things going on, framed around talking points, from people above a glass ceiling that it's very, very hard to access, right? There's so many people at that level that are making decisions that impact all of us every day. So yesterday was a moment that I just felt like it was time to just kind of come out there. And even on X, I'm very low key. I don't really engage in stuff. And so when Brian Allen approached me and said, hey, I want to put together this panel, Alan Ayer was there. Malcolm Nance is very well known. He was in the military, served multiple tours. He was there. We had a constitutional attorney there. Another Brian was there, and he's a policy advisor. So it was a good, healthy, different backgrounds. And so the conversation was framed around a lot of this stuff going on. And the premise of it was based off truth and the integrity of truth and the integrity of facts, whether they're uncomfortable to talk about, whether they fit the narrative that we want individually, in our silos, in our groups. I sat here listening a little bit about, I think there was a Kurd that was speaking. I'm probably known and obnoxiously known for this, that I always give grace to everybody for their lived experiences, and I think there's truth in that. So it's very complex, and we have to acknowledge the complexity of everything going on. Acknowledge the fact that while Iranians and dissidents and political prisoners and those inside of Iran or outside of Iran that have fled, while they have disagreements or flat out hate the regime, there is a sense of solidarity and national pride and love for their nation, and they don't want to see this happen this way. And that's important to note, because these kinds of environments of social audio where we're discussing and we're trying to unpack reality, it's very easy to become a you versus us, them versus me, and this narrative of like pointing people and putting them in boxes and labeling them if they don't subscribe to a singular sentence or a claim or a position on something, because it's very nuanced and it's very complex. And then we've got the diplomacy side of it, and we've got the chronological timeline of things. Those facts mean something. They are not just something to use to say, oh, you're whitewashing this, or you're justifying this, or you're trying to protect this narrative. This isn't a Iran versus Israel thing. This isn't a U.S. versus Israel thing. This U.S. versus Iran thing. This isn't anything versus anything. It's about how we are unpacking, dissecting, maneuvering historical facts, with accuracy and respect, whether that fact is uncomfortable. So I just want to appreciate and say thank you for all of that.
Pleasure. Look, I just want to highlight one of those things, one of the issues that you just brought up, and that is that a lot of people look at these types of scenarios in the same sort of framing as a game of soccer or a game of football. It's one team versus another. You're either on one side or you're on the other. There's always a nuance, and especially under these circumstances. And I appreciate the perspective that you're bringing into this conversation, and you do it in such a very eloquent way. At the same time as you have your truths, there are other people who are going to have their truths, their lived experiences, and they're living through the filter that they have adopted based on their bias or their own personal experience as well. So with that, look, I want to ask, is there anybody who'd like to be able to ask any questions to Marek?
Yes.
Okay, who've we got there?
Dave, yeah. So what?
Hi, David.
Yes, I think in this clubhouse, I think we need to gradually transition to truth and embrace complexity. I mean, most Western people have no clue how complex this region is. And the problem is for...
David, I'm going to pause you. Sorry, mate. Are you going to ask her a question directly about what she was...
Yeah, I will
just
ask her
listen to
a question.
Position? Right. That'd be great.
So you, Marian, thank you. And you mentioned about all this complexity. How would you help the Western people to deal with this complexity, go through the truth? Because since October 7, we, without many Westerners are very lazy and without putting effort, just come and black and white, because they are bombarded with a lot of misinformation for people who are pro-Palestine. And there are certain complexities with the struggle between pro-Palestine and Israel, but very often we find that there's a lot of misinformation to go through the history. There's always a debate between which version of history is true. So I'm asking you, Marian, if you are representing Kurt, how would you help us to go through the complexity and the truth prevail?
Hi, Dave. I appreciate that question. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It requires intellectual honesty and not being lazy. Unfortunately, sticking to talking points, jumping on bandwagons, bandwagon legitimacy, not making the effort to understand the chronological order of things, why something happened when it happened, what are the nuances of how it happened, when it happened. We are, I think recently they put out a stat that said the average, attention span is like 8 seconds, right? So I appreciate everybody for listening to a 10-minute statement from me, but we have to be able to pause a little bit and make the effort to learn, to read, to understand things more. Because if we don't, and we stick to 8-second talking points and headlines, and we jump on those statements, we are really missing it all. We are not able to discern the truth and the reality and the facts, and that is going to continue to cause division. It's going to sow hatred. It's not, and this applies to Israel and Palestine situation here too. Every side has its own justified lived experiences and stories, right? And I'm going to repeat it again. We're at the mercy of people who make decisions claiming it's on our behalf, and we are not sitting at that table, right? We can hear about it, we read about it in the news, but we're not sitting there. And the only way to get close to a seat at that table is to read as much as we can, to learn as much as we can, and understand the history and the nuances and how complex it is. So I appreciate your question, and I just encourage everybody to read more, listen more, talk more, understand more.
Do you appreciate perhaps what it's like for a person who doesn't have as much inside knowledge to current events as well as history of the region, how it might be somewhat confusing, as an example, that you have 80% of the population, I think it's 90 million in Iran at this point, who are against the current regime, who would want a change of the guard. And there are people who are literally partying in the streets. I've seen videos of people celebrating, saying, "Thank you, Israel," blessing Israel. I've seen people around the world, in America, also in Australia, out in the streets, showing appreciation for Israel doing what they're doing at this point. For probably a variety of different reasons, but I would sort of ascertain that the main reason why they're doing that is because they do want to change the regime. And you also bring up some salient points in terms of, well, what happens after this? If there's nothing that's put in place, then if there's no after plan, then it seems to me that you think that things would actually get worse than what they currently are, and not better for the people of Iran. And I'm not sure I quite understand that. Possibly be able to maybe shed some light on that for us.
Sure. So I'll start from the beginning of what you brought up. I think, I mentioned this in my closing statement, and I'll sort of repeat it here. And this goes for polls, but it also goes for, social media videos and posts that we see everywhere that is framing our perception. Polling gets cited when it's convenient and dismissed when it's not. The same applies to social media posts and videos coming out of Iran. For every one Iranian celebrating this, I guarantee you that there's an Iranian not celebrating this. There's an Iranian that says, "Hey," I think I've sent you some pictures before of the screenshots from. There's a Baha'i activist who just happened to do a seminar, a conference, a speaking engagement about a week or two ago in Dallas. Even for that person who's been persecuted, family persecuted, sharing his lived experience in a story to amplify the voice of Baha'is in Iran, for example, their story, right? I'm not judging its truth or not. I'm not judging anything about it. That is their story. It is not my place to judge. But even those people are saying, "Hey, this is not what we wanted. This is not how we want it." So for every person who's celebrating it, I think it's fair to say that there's a person not celebrating. And it goes back to the agency of its people. Regarding the after, what happens next? The issue that I see is that we are siloed and fragmented still as an Iranian community inside and out. You cannot convince me that there is a singular majority voice that transcends beyond any other minority groups, siloed groups. Everybody is operating with their own vision. You've got the group here that is a hardcore, diehard monarchy group. You've got the group here that says, hey, you know, for this portion of transition, for this next phase, we're going to support Reza Pahlavi as leader. You've got another group here saying, no, we support Maryam Rajavi and her 10-point plan. In fact, to the point where, in my humble opinion, Reza Pahlavi is laid $1 short. Congress has already, you know, said, hey, we're recognizing this as Maryam Rajavi, but that's another argument. You've got Kurds, you have Kurd separatists that are expansionists, not just separatists, but it's the expansionism side of it. You've got Kurds that are nationalists that want a Kurdish state within the state of Iran as its own autonomous area like you see in Iraq. You've got reformists. You've got people that are reformists by political affiliation, and then you've got reformists who philosophically believe in the engine, like the process of reform, like we see in the United States, and I probably fall somewhere around there. And then you've got, you know, your regime supporters that are diehard regime supporters, and then you've got loyalists, then you've got your hardline conservatives, and then you've got a whole bunch of people in the middle that are just afraid, like, what the hell is going to happen? I don't even know what I want to do right now. I just want to go to work. I want to be able to feed my family. I want to live my life. Like, please, everybody just leave me alone. So when you have an environment that is so diverse and complex, politically, socially, emotionally, historically, it's very hard to say that right now we're going to have a unified process about what's going to happen next. And the reason I'm highlighting this, Ro, is because, you know, in 120 years of Iran's history, we have had 5 regime changes. 5 in 120 years. Tell me which nation in the world has had that much regime change in 5 years and able to sustain itself. That perspective and what I'm saying about what happens next is very, very important, because if we don't recognize this, there's always going to be another group that is going to rise up, and we're going to have the 6th or the 7th or the 8th regime change, and we're not even going to hit 200.
I hear what you're saying. JB, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, Miriam. Listen, I'm hearing things for the first time. I'm so anti-doxing people's families and people taking this shit offline. So, Miriam, I'm sincerely sorry that you had experience. I'm sure it's extremely stressful. But you're getting a lot of pushback in the chat on some of the things you're saying. I'm not a scholar on anything that deals with Iran, to be honest. I'm learning things today. So, Sarah, did you want to jump in? I know you do?
I do. I want to ask Maryam something, because she said something, but I'm not sure if I heard it correctly or not. Maryam, did you say, when you were talking right now, did you say that your family did work for IRGC at some point?
No.
Oh, you did not say that. Okay.
I said I categorically deny that accusation. That is completely false.
Okay, but I do want to say something, and Maryam, please don't take this in the wrong way. I do like you. We're friends on, Clubhouse. But for someone who always say, as an Iranian who lives outside Iran, it's not my place to decide for the future of Iran. You have a lot of opinion on, why it's dangerous and there's going to be civil war. Like, you literally had the longest mic in all the people who talked in this room today. So I just want to point that out. And I'm not like labeling you anything, whether you truly believe that the stuff that you're saying or not. You are actually playing in IRGC's favor. And again, I'm not saying you are connected to them, but I just want to let you know, like, I swear I have at least 20 people in my back channel right now, and they're all saying, is she IRGC? Is she IRGC? Why is she saying this? Like, seriously, like, if you want to tell Iranians that those who are outside the country shouldn't have any opinions, or you're not going to have opinion, you're not going to decide for the future of Iran, I think you shouldn't, like, have this much of explanation either, because you know what makes you an Iranian? It doesn't matter if you live inside Iran or not. The same way that Iranians can go and actually vote for presidential, whether they're inside Iran or not, they can have an opinion. Majority of Iranians who are outside Iran, they had to run from the IRGC at some point in their life. So they actually absolutely have the right to have an opinion. Every single Iranian has a single vote. And if you don't want to be involved, then please, I beg you, and I beg you on behalf of every Iranian who's anti-regime and they want them to go, please just sit quietly back, because you always have a lot of opinion, you know, but then you always also say, oh, I'm not going to make decisions. That's all I just wanted to say. And I hope you don't take it in the wrong way. I'm not trying to label you. I'm saying it as a friend.
Okay, so I'm going to start by saying there's two types of people, glass half full and glass half empty. Your perception is your reality, so I can't change the minds of anyone who wants to take what I said and hear how they wanted to hear it. I said what I said very, very clearly. Okay, so I'm not going to go back and forth about, you know, trying to debate or defend my statements. I was very, very explicit with how I said it, how I framed it. So there's always going to be a group of people who just don't want to hear what somebody's saying for what it is.
Rohan, I'm going to hand the room over to you since you're the administrator for this house. Great conversation, guys. I'll be back.
See you back here soon, JB. Sarah, look, I want to say thanks for asking. Thanks for making a comment, also asking a question so politely as well. I think, you know, we were pointing out before that, like, Miriam's going to have, she has her scope of the situation that she is going to be able to talk about. She's got a narrative based on her own personal experience and also the history that, you know, that she has not just witnessed for herself, but also has read about as well. And I think, look, within this, there's a healthy conversation and, for that matter, a healthy debate to be able to have. I'd love to know if there's anybody else who's got like some questions or some pushback, or maybe on what Miriam had to was saying. Then please, feel free to be able to just chime in. Let's go.
Sano, go ahead, Sano.
Yeah, I don't know this lady. I don't know Mariam. But I think, if I understood correctly, she's the daughter of Ibrahim Yazdi. Well, Ibrahim Yazdi was not a very good actor. Even after revolution. Granddaughter. Well, Ibrahim Yazdi, he was not a very good actor. He was not a very good actor, good figure in the history of Iran. Well, he fought for the Islamic Revolution. He was pro-Islamic Revolution, but he also became a victim of Islamic Revolution. So among all the hundreds of thousands of the victims of Islamic Revolution, Ibrahim Yazdi is one of the people who I feel sorry for the least, because he was one of the culprits who brought this pestilence to our country. And so just my question is, so Mariam, if I understand correctly, you oppose regime change in Iran right now. So is it because Israel is involved? Is it because of your hatred for Israel that you are opposed to it? Or is it because Pahlavi is involved? For which of these two reasons is that you are against? Is it because of your hatred for Israel or your hatred for Pahlavi? Judging from the views of your grandfather, because I don't know your own view.
That's really interesting. I don't know where you got the idea that Mariam is anti-Israel. Or even for that matter, pro-IRGC. But Miriam, if you'd like to be able to respond to that, that's entirely up to you.
I think you, as
opposing regime change right now is pro-IRGC.
Supports Israel.
Wait, hang on.
Cleared it up.
Pause for 1 second, okay. Just for what it's worth, A, we've got a one mic policy. B, if a moderator is talking, that's not an indication to be able to open mic and just talk over them. It's not a good idea. We're not going to accept that. Sorry, Miriam, as you were saying?
I was just saying that as a Jewish man who supports Israel, I think it's fascinating from the outside in this current climate of trying to label people a certain way to, and I said it actually when you played my statement in the space, I think the question was cleverly worded, but I think you responded to it well, Ro. So I'm just going to leave your statement, if you want to repeat it again, out there for people to really understand the perception of what I said, how you took what I said, listening very carefully, how you said as a Jewish man who supports Israel, and what somebody like Sano is trying to paint what I said.
Sano, I don't know how you came to the conclusion that Miriam is anti-Israel and pro-IRGC. Is it possible you've misheard something?
No, I'm just asking. I'm not saying she's anti-Israel. I'm just asking, why would she be against regime change after a historical opportunity we have? We don't have the luxury of choosing exactly how to carry out regime change. And if this attempt fails, then there will be massive massacres. There will be tens of Khabarans. If you are Iranian, you know what is Khabaran. What is the mass murder of political prisoners in the 80s. There will be tenfold of that awaiting us if this regime change attempt fails. So why would anyone be against regime change now? Just because it is not exactly the way I dreamt it to be?
Well, I mean, maybe a way of putting it would be, Miriam, do you think that under the current circumstances, if there was a regime change, could it actually be any worse than what it currently is?
Hey, Miriam, in the midst of you answering that question,
Anthony, I just want to see if...
Ro, I would actually like to also hear what Anthony wants to kind of say too, so I can answer it all together, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, okay, that's...
All right. Excellent. So Miriam, I just want to be clear, right? Do you think it's a fair stance for someone to feel if you're anti-regime change, that makes Miriam pro, IRGC? Do you think that's a fair statement?
If Miriam actually explicitly says she's against regime change, I'm sure that there's somebody out there that could take that and make 2 + 2 = 4 in that context. But I'd like anyone here, I charge anyone, to tell me where in any of my statement or anything else that I've said, assert that I am anti-regime change. Please. And Rose heard the video, Ro played the video. Ro, did I say anything anywhere that I'm anti-regime change at all?
No, you
explicitly
certainly...
anywhere? Or even imply it in the slightest?
No, there was no implication whatsoever. It was an assumption that was being made and an assertion that came as a result of that, much the same as the assertion that you're anti-Israel, which I've known you on here for I don't know how long, but I've never heard you be anti-Israel once.
So to be clear, Miriam, I haven't heard you say anything that indicates that you're anti-regime change. I was just asking the question as a concept. It's not based on something you said. Multiple people have asserted that you're anti-regime change. I haven't heard you state that.
I would like to say something. Is it okay? So from what I hear so far, this is more about ancient people, Kurd. They are divided now in Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran, right? Most of them are in Turkey. What I hear from Marian is there's a lot of complexity. The history timeline is very important. And she just hoped that in this discussion of how the regime change will take place, that people do not totally ignore. There is this, 8 million Kurds in Iran, but she hoped for the bigger picture. What would the world want to do with people, Kurds? There are distributed around 14 million in Turkey, 8 in Iran, and some in Iraq, and some a little in Syria. That's what I hear from her. And I rather hear things like that, which is based on truth, than having many Israeli people wasting time on daily basis, debating futilely with people like Aziz, or people who just come and waste the time of the Israeli people. We hope for IRGC to go away. And the question is, in this very sensitive, uncertain time, should we hear about, the future of Kurd, right? But if this is presented as a truth, and if there is no misleading, everything is clear, that she's not representing Kurd who is and thinking about anti-Israel. I don't hear that, and I also don't hear that about anti-regime change. She just hope that there is this truth in history. What would happen to these people when there's an anti-regime change? When there's a regime change, and also the other point, what she say is, who is going to lead the regime change? She believes, maybe it's not her or somebody else, it's the Kurd people who's going to lead the regime change. They are willing to sacrifice their life. Again, I could be wrong, but she's not anti-regime change. She just hope in this very historical moment in Iran, people don't forget there is an 8% Kurd death. That's my point of view.
Mariam, did you want to follow up with that?
Sorry for interrupting. Well, sorry, Mariam.
Let me clarify,
Look,
Sarah.
there is
No, Sarah, hang on. Let me clarify.
No, there's a guy in the chat who's like making very, very nasty comments. Maybe somebody wants to.
It's okay. I see it, but I think it's also important to see that it exists there, Sarah John. Okay, because that is also telling. Again, we're talking about complexities of all of this. There are people out there who make the statement nuke Iran, right? I mean, they even create an account about it. We can disavow it, we can get upset about it, but we can't ignore that it exists, in my humble opinion. To answer Dave, I think I understand where you're coming from with the whole reliance on the Kurd part and bringing that. I didn't say definitively that it's Kurds. I said in response to Ro, when he asked me about this, I said that the complexity of it does cause a concern for me looking at it from the outside based off of 120 years. So when you have a population of Iranians globally, 80 plus million inside, and you have so many different factions and people that subscribe to a different type of political affiliation or ideology, it begs the question, where's the utopia? Where's that utopian leader or group of leaders? If you really want my opinion, I think that the leaders of Iran are in those jails. I think that the dissidents and the political activists that have given their blood, sweat, and tears and have stayed in the country and have fought against the government, those people, to me, in my humble opinion, are the ones that are truly the ones that can navigate all of this, because even sociologically or psychologically, they've earned the respects of their compatriots inside of Iran enough because they see them that have stayed there. Whether we on the outside have different judgments and opinions about them, and we want to go down conspiracy rabbit holes or affix a label to them, regardless of what we think on the outside, the people of inside of Iran, they recognize who's in prison right now. So I'll land on that part, Dave. And that's what I was trying to explain, is there's a complexity there of all the different.
Let me chime in here with a quick question. I think the commentary in the chat, and you referenced it, Mariam, begs a provocative question. And I'd like for you, if you could, to answer it directly. The question is this: do you think that Iran should have nuclear weapons? And if so, or not, why or why not?
That's a great question, TC. That was actually a question we were talking about yesterday, and I've been on different panels talking about this. On principle, I think every sovereign nation has a right to do that. The issue about Iran having nuclear capabilities started actually in the late 1960s and 1970. So during that time, there was Project Flower. You had the Shah of Iran back then, the late Shah, asking the United States for the ability to develop a nuclear program. The question right now is, do we trust this regime enough to have a nuclear program? My question to that is, what type of government would anyone trust to have a nuclear program? And the foundational principled question is, does every sovereign nation have the right to do it, right? Have the right to have it? And so if you look back at the history of Iran, it's not exclusive to 46 years, this question about nuclear programs, nuclear reactors. The Shah of Iran had a program to have 22 or 23 nuclear sites. Before Ford was Nixon. Nixon said, okay, let's work on an agreement. Let's talk to each other about this. So they had that. Then you had the Guadalupe conference that happened. In the middle of that, you had Ford come in. So the complexity and the accuracy of the chronological timeline of all this lends itself to the question of, when will the West, or anyone in general, be satisfied, and what regime will be satisfied for something like this to happen? So on principle alone, yes, I believe that Iran has the right to have the same things that Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Israel, America, every other country has. I would be a liar if I said that I didn't agree on that. So I'll leave it there.
If I could just follow up on that, real quick, and then I'll hand it right back off to you.
Yeah, sure. I think I know where you're going to go with it.
Yeah, I don't, and don't take this the wrong way, Miriam, but I asked you to answer the question directly because I wanted to evoke a response to the question that's guiding the conversation, which is, what is the utility of a nuclear-armed Iran? We're not talking about nuclear energy. I'm talking about a nuclear bomb. And so the question was, in your opinion, should this current regime have a nuclear bomb? And if so, why? And I think you gave a principled response, which I respect, and I can respect that response, because if everybody else is entitled to it, then why should Iran be entitled to it? That's fair. But considering the implications of this current regime armed with a nuclear weapon, I guess agnostic to any type of principled or just principled stance on the issue of fairness and equity for countries having access to weapons that other countries have, why would it be advantageous for this regime of Iran to have a nuclear bomb? If you want to answer that, you can. If not, no worries. But
I'll answer it.
Yeah,
I'll answer it, but I'm not going to be direct the way that you want, okay, TC? Because that requires a little bit of background. Yeah. So I'm gonna speak as an American citizen here. My statement before was as an American citizen, and also pride in my heritage and the fact that Iran does deserve this. And this has been a question since I said from the late 1960s and 1970. There's been a lot of talk about JCPOA, right? So when the U.S. backed out of JCPOA, although Iran was still in a nuclear agreement with the E3 nations, France, Germany, UK, there were some agreements there. It got out of hand. So Iran went from 3.67 to 60%. That's a big jump. Okay, I think we can all agree that that shouldn't have happened, and I think the regime was stupid for allowing that to happen. So I don't agree on that. I don't think they should have done that. Then you've got the IAEA. They say that, there's conflicting statements. In one breath, you've got, it's going to happen within the next 3 weeks, three months, etc. But then you've got the definitive statement from the IAEA saying that Iran is not building a bomb and is likely not to in the next 3 years away, even if it wanted to. Okay, so even if it chose the path to develop a nuclear bomb, it hasn't indicated so, but what they have right now could if they wanted to, right? So that's a question, that's an issue. But right now, in terms of policy and the U.S. position on this and what we're doing here in the U.S. domestically, the question is, it's at least 3 years away. We've had so many conflicting reports from, you've got, the Director General Grossi, he came out and said something, and then he had to walk that back. I think 2 days ago, he was on the TV doing an interview, walking back what he said. There's so many layers to all of this. So given this current regime, the way that they have behaved, no, I think it's fair for any Western country to say, hey, hold on a second here. What are you doing? Why do you need 60%? So I think that's a fair question to ask. And as from this position, from a policy position, looking at that, I would also say, why are you guys enriching this much? I agree with the sentiment that we should be concerned with what they're doing with that. So I'm not disavowing any Western perspective on our opinion of Iran's ability to have it with this regime and the statements that they've made. And I'm not talking about domestic. I'm talking about, when it comes to like their foreign relation policies.
So in a nutshell, given the current regime, would you feel comfortable as a person who's living in Israel for them to be able to have developed nuclear capabilities further than what they have?
That's a good question, Ro. Given the asinine statements from our former president, Ahmadinejad, and, some of the rhetoric around there that's really escalated the whole, Iran versus Israel thing, no, I can see why Israel would not feel comfortable. I could see that. I respect the position of Israel saying, hey, we're not comfortable with Iran having this because, ever since Ahmadinejad opened his stupid mouth, this is what he said.
I want to get in here.
Hang on, but that was answering the question, but not the question that I was asking. Would you feel comfortable?
She's good at that, Ro. She's good
as a person. Hang on for a second. Would you, as an Israeli, feel comfortable with Iran or IRGC developing a greater strengths of uranium?
No. If I was an Israeli, I would not feel comfortable if I was an Israeli.
Yeah. Okay. You understand that obviously Israel's need to be able to take matters into their own hands, and given the threat that the IRGC has made and the Ayatollah has made towards Israel, and it's not just this particular one, and it's not just in the last week or the last couple of months, but this has been something that's happened over decades, as you're well aware. There's been a constant threat to Israel coming from Iran, not just directly, through its proxies as well, through the funding of Hamas, through the funding of Hezbollah, through the PIJ, through Houthis, which are also causing major problems within the water boundaries for shipping and so forth, which is causing problems for the rest of the world. We're also aware that the funding the Houthis, where you have 2 million people lining in the streets calling for the death of not just Israel, but calling for the death of America. It sort of surprises me that I'm not hearing a direct.
Can I tell you why?
I'm not hearing a direct sort of an emphatic answer that leans in the direction of saying absolutely not. Actually, this regime is a fucking danger to the rest of the world. In fact, it's a cancer, and is a threat to not just the Middle East but also the world peace.
Sir, I'm going to tell you why, Ron, and it's really simple. For me, statements like that and words like that matter, right? There's value that we assign to it, and that value that we assign to it goes into a formula that then turns into an action, right? So let's talk about threats, and let's talk about relationships and who hates who, and I'm saying who in terms of a nation, right? There's another country out there, Pakistan, who actually has the atomic capabilities to do something. And if we look at the history of Pakistan and Israel, Pakistan, you could say, and I'm using air quotes here, hates Israel just as much, right? What I don't see, and this is where I'm trying to reconcile this narrative, and maybe we can have an honest conversation about this so that I can get to the point where you guys are and I can be on that same level. But for me, pragmatically speaking, and words matter to me, what I don't see is the consistency of that message in terms of threat and fear. So we have a country, Pakistan, that literally today has an atomic bomb, to the point where in the last 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, right? Let's just say in the last week, you've heard statements from Pakistan. They've walked back those statements. They said it again the next day, where they are willing and able to support and lean in and drop a nuke on Israel if this continues, right? But I don't see the same rhetoric from Israel against Pakistan, who has the capability and has made that claim, and since at least 1948 has been anti-Israel. So if
Look, I
somebody
mean,
could
what
help enlighten and share that perspective of it, for me to align the two principles.
Can someone else
That would
speak?
be-
Yeah, aside from Mariam, with all due respect.
Pakistan does not hang on for a second. Why are people just jumping in? Just hang on for a second. Yaakov, I've got you. Just let Miriam finish what she was saying. I also wanted to be able to point out that, you know, the Ayatollah is the person, or the IRGC has been very open and verbose in terms of its desire and its intention, and its actions through its proxies in the wanton destruction of Israel. Pakistan, albeit, has like an incredible arsenal of nuclear capabilities and weapons, has not done that. So they haven't openly been a threat, and they haven't threatened Israel per se. They're not peaceful. We understand that, but they're not warring in their words. Sorry, Marion, I'll pass it back to you, and then I'll go to Yaakov.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I can see that perspective, but I also disagree. I think Pakistan has come out on several occasions and made claims against Israel. So, I mean, we can both maybe go and Google it and find those talking points and that history there, but I think that it's important to note when we're talking about it and we're framing it the way that we are, the inconsistencies and the discrepancies is where it lends itself to why now, what's at stake, are we missing the forest from the trees? And that's the position that I'm taking from it. It has nothing to do with my personal beliefs and my alliances or my allegiances to any one side. And it's just from a pragmatic perspective here, when I look at the implications of it domestically in terms of the U.S., right? I said in the beginning of this, I'm putting my U.S. hat on this. For me as a voter, as a taxpayer, I look at this and I do question the inconsistency in terms of principle when it comes to saying that this is a threat.
Bro, can I get in the queue? So, AJ down here.
AJ, absolutely. Thank you so much. AJ, I'm really glad you came up here. I was trying to get you up here a little bit earlier. I'm going to pass the mic over to Yaakov, who is, I think you wanting to ask a question.
You made my point that Iran is actively funding Hezbollah, which has been firing 10,000 missiles from October 7th beyond into Israel, and prior to that, many thousands of missiles. The Houthis with their ballistic missiles and Hamas. So it's just not a fair comparison, I think. There may be rhetoric from Pakistan, but there isn't active funding to topple the government of Israel.
You mean apples aren't the same as oranges?
Thanks, appreciate it. AJ, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Great, thanks for having me. Listen, it's always difficult to ascertain folks' motivations and where they're coming from, and all I can do is assess the words that are being said. And I have to say, this issue hits close to home for me, and I don't want to say Mariam is for IRGC, but Mariam, all of your comments happen to conveniently align with IRGC interests. You might say you're not anti-regime change, but that you're very careful in your wording not to say that you would support it. And you spend all of your time on this app talking about the dangers of toppling this theocratic, oppressive regime. And then when the topic of nukes come up, you draw false equivalences, and you very cleverly kind of open the door to people being more open-minded about the mullahs having a nuke. Okay, yeah, the program is so peaceful. The Iranian nuclear program is so peaceful that they buried one of their nuclear sites 100 well below a cave, and even though that they were bound by an IAEA agreement in 2003. They only revealed that they had the Fordo site in 2009 after it was discovered by Western intelligence. Iran is actively funding proxies, the Houthis, the Hezbollah. They had a hand in October 7. They celebrate Death to Israel and Death to America Day. And the reason and even if you had some argument that they were equivalent to Pakistan, that's still, your argument falls apart, because if there's an opportunity to prevent another one of these countries from acquiring a nuke, it doesn't mean you allow it because another country already has it. That argument doesn't make any sense. So all I'm saying is it's just tough to be in this room and see. I'm glad that Mariam's take is here, that her perspective is here, but I do feel like her voice is being elevated as if she's made a mod in this room. She's getting way more speaking time in this room, and I'm sorry you're not speaking for a lot of us. And it would be great to get alternative perspectives here. The Iranian regime has oppressed the Iranian people for 40 years. People are desperate to get out from under their thumb. Do we know what's going to come next? No, these issues are really complicated, and hopefully something worse won't come. But every one of your comments is aligning with fear-mongering around change and making people more flexible with the thought of the regime having a nuke. And it's just tough to stomach it sometimes. But I'm glad your view is here, but we need other voices on.
Well, AJ, you got the green bean, so you have a voice. Everybody on the stage has a voice. Everybody. We don't have to necessarily agree, but let's have the respectful conversation. Back to you, Rohan.
Come back. Point absolutely clear and also taken. Some of the best conversations that I've been witness to and also been part of have been ones where there have been differences of opinion. It's perfectly fine, but they've been done respectfully, and the points that have been made are actually really salient. Easy for people to be able to understand. I think it's a beautiful challenge, but also a beautiful thing where you can agree to disagree, instead of having a shit show and having shit flying everywhere.
Well, Ryan, let me just say this. I had this room open since 7:30 this morning my time, and I'm glad Marian's here. She's for me, she's given a different perspective than what I've heard most of the day. So like I said, I'm no scholar on Iran or the people there, but you're right. This is healthy debate. Let's have different views in a respectful manner. But I have to be honest, Rohan, I didn't know what Mariam was going to say, so it kind of took me back because I've been hearing the opposite all morning. But I'm going to hand it back to you to run it.
Can I say something real quick?
Please, Mariam, jump in, Nanny.
Look, I appreciate that my take, and I'm going to open parentheses and add this little footnote here. My take, even on domestic U.S.-related things, also rubs some people wrong. So regardless of whether it's Iran, Israel, foreign relations, geopolitics, Saudi Arabia, that's just me. And that's not me whitewashing myself or defending myself to justify my actions. I'm just saying that there's always different perspectives that people have. And so, AJ, I appreciate everything that you said. I respect you. I have an immense respect for you. You and I have been, friends on Clubhouse and exchanged ideas and thoughts on a lot of different topics. And so I appreciate where you're coming from, and I appreciate the constructive criticism in terms of the perception of what I'm saying. But because of the respect that I have for you, I was hoping that of all people, you would be one of those people who would discern what I'm saying, understand it from a different pragmatic point of view. But I also appreciate the emotions and the background and the history of it. So, I'm hoping that we can get beyond the emotions and the PTSD that we've both experienced, because I've experienced it as well. And that we can move beyond that and look at that at a higher level and try to understand and unpack with the words that are being used versus some ulterior motive behind it.
I appreciate that, Mariam, but where I struggle sometimes is in several instances you've been asked really direct questions about some of these issues, and I don't know if you're doing it on purpose, but the way that you kind of dodge it sometimes, it's sometimes concerning. Like I know these issues are really complex, but if all you're doing is saying, hey, regime change is dangerous, and hey, look at this other country that has nukes. There's hypocrisy. It all starts to line up in one direction. I'm not hearing nuance from you. I'm hearing you go kind of one direction, and then when you're asked about the other direction, you kind of dodge it.
So let me make it simple.
You have to appreciate how that sounds to me. It's kind of hard to hear.
Let's get away from this conversation of nuclear. Okay, so we're Iranian to Iranian talking, and I'd like to hear from the other Iranians if we can, Ro. Let's just take it away from this right now, because I think what Ro is playing from my statement and how I opened when he came to me in this room, I think that's missed here. So let's get away from this talk. Let's get it down to Iranians and Iranians. I don't know whose mic is open, but...
I would like to go next, if possible. I would like
Dave,
to go
please,
next.
Yeah, Dave, please, 1 second here, Dave. So we've heard from Dave, actually, I'm sorry, Dave, I'm gonna use these as an example. So let's say that if I support Iran, I support the civilians inside of Iran, right? As diverse, ethnically diverse, politically diverse, emotionally diverse, educatedly diverse, right? So let's say, and this has happened actually, AJ, let's say that I also support giving space for Kurds and Baluchis to talk about what they feel living in Iran and what they want to see for Iran, right? I guarantee you the immediate label and assumption is going to be made that I am now supporting a separatist movement, right? I'm using this as an example because at the end of the day, before we start talking about regime change, and this goes back to Rose's second question to me about what are my concerns, what do I see about the day after, about tomorrow? And I very explicitly said this, so I'd like to have an intellectually honest conversation about this. Knowing, and every Iranian in here right now knows, the complexity and the diversity of the total population of Iranians. Knowing that, I would like one person to tell me how they envision this to play out when times have changed. Social media has created platforms for people to get together more in solidarity in their silos, in their groups. So I'd like to know, in that scenario, how do we see it's going to play out? When you've got somebody like Dave here who has
I'd like to
changed
answer.
words that I said. No, not you. I asked AJ for a minute. Hold on. I would like to know
answer
this.
your question. You keep repeating yourself.
Are
I'd
you
like to
Iranian?
answer.
Are you Iranian? No, you're
No,
not.
but I don't believe you have to be. I didn't know you had to be
because-
Iranian. I won't speak to you.
Randy, hang on, please.
I mean, because you're making a big speech just to make one little question. You keep
No, this
repeating.
important
We get it.
point.
You want to know what happens after.
Randy,
Okay?
hang on, please.
Are you familiar with
Randy,
the
hang
former
on.
Yugoslavia?
Randy, hang on.
Randy.
Okay, so he can't hang on. I'm sorry, Ru. I helped him hang on. I helped him. So AJ, I would like to know, as we're having this conversation among friends who are not Iranian, and we're trying to have an honest conversation about this, I'd like to know how we're supposed to reconcile that with the diversity that we have.
Yeah, I'll be really quick, and I got to get in an elevator here and would love to give other people a chance to speak here. Look, I don't have the answers. This is really complex. I'm actually one of the few people on this app who's capable of saying the words, I don't know. I know it's a really uncomfortable phrase for people to say. It's very complicated. Who knows what will come after? Hopefully it won't be something worse. All I'm saying, Marianne, is that if your only message about this opportunity to topple this sick theocratic regime is just instilling fear about removing them, and you're not saying anything else, that's concerning. I agree with you that it's scary about what will come in next. But what's different between what you and I are saying is I also talk about the great things that could come from toppling a regime like this, whereas from you, all I hear is the fear.
And
I'll let some others speak.
All right, let me jump in for a second.
Can someone else talk?
Yeah, Randy, relax. I'm coming to you right now, bro. I got you. That's what I was going to say. Listen, let's show some grace and some space to Miriam, please. But Randy, attack the point, not the person, please. Go ahead.
I never attacked the person. I was making a point. Yugoslavia was a country. Now it's several different countries. And the same thing could happen to Iran. We've heard about a huge Kurdish ethnic minority. There are other, Iran as a state, it will turn into several states of ethnic groups. The same people who believe that Palestinians deserve their own country should also believe that different ethnic groups in Iran should have their own countries. And that is one logical outcome. Just one of many. Thank you.
Guys, can I get a mic a bit later? I've been asking for like 20 minutes
Go ahead,
after
Steve.
Miriam responds. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Can you hear me properly?
You're coming through loud and clear, Giffy.
Yeah. So if you let me answer to Randy a little bit and to Miriam as well. Unlike, I'm not trying to diss anybody. I'm just stating facts. Unlike most of the people on this team, I live in the region. I don't live in Iran per se, but I live pretty close to it, and I have a lot of people that I've helped shelter that run away from current regime. So first part of my answer is going to be about what Miriam said, and then I'll go to Randy's point. So let's go back to the Pakistan thing. There's a lot said, but there's another thing about Pakistan that is still, it's flawed, but it still is a democracy. You saw what happened to Khan when he tried to basically take over the country. They took him away. Now they have a different government. And with Iran, it's like it's more hate towards Israel because it's first of all one of the main pillars of their whole affairs, like international affairs. And another thing is that it's been funding groups that don't make sense, like Hamas. Because Sunni Muslims, they hate Iranians because Iranians are Shia. They just fund them out of spite. Another thing is that, Miriam, I'm not trying to attack you as a person. I'm just saying that at first I thought you were a reformist, and I would agree with that because there's a lot of delusion going on, like, oh, let's bring Shah back and all that. This will most likely never happen, but the more I listen to you, the more it sounds like IRGC stuff, which I cannot support. And I think in general, less nukes is better. And Iran's proved itself to be a bad actor. Answering to Randy, nobody will ever allow Iran to break up for two reasons. First of all, Kurdistan will never be a country, and I'm not saying that I don't place hate for Kurds. I have a lot of Kurdish friends, and I love them and I support them. But Turkey, Iraq, Syria, all those countries will never allow Kurdistan to become a country. If it becomes a part of the country, in Iran, then all the other Kurds will want to make it a separate state, which they will not let happen. Even though I love my Kurdish friends, I support them, but I don't think it is possible in the current political climate. Another thing is that none of the Western countries will allow Iran to break up or to have a violent revolution because of those kilograms of enriched uranium they have, because some bad actor may just steal it and go away with it. So that is another problem why no one will ever let you have a violent revolution in Iran or let it break up in different states. I'm done.
But respectfully, Syria is not in a position to block Kurdistan, a Kurdish country. They do not have an army. They're not going to stop a Kurdish country from being created. I'm not sure that Iraq has the resources to stop a Kurdish country from being created.
What about Turkey, though?
It's not their choice. If Iran splits into several countries, I don't see Turkey going to war and saying, no, you must stay together. I don't see how that happens.
Can I respond to something real quick here?
Yeah, of course, ma'am. Go ahead.
Baby? Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this again. When Ro asked me earlier about some of my concerns, or what would I see tomorrow if there was an opportunity for a movement and a revolution, I was explaining the nuances. I mean, right now, just in the last 5 minutes, we heard mention of separatists and Kurds and all these different groups, right? We have to be able to talk about the multiple elephants in the room if we want to have a conversation about this. So if I don't take a position on anything and I speak more analytically or, in different ways, I think probably aggravates TC and so many others, it's because it's so complex. You can't just fit it into a singular answer. And we just saw an example of that. when I was responding to Ron earlier and I was explaining the complexity of it and the different ideological and philosophical views of the different siloed groups of Iranians inside and out, when I got to the point of reformists, I said there's reformists politically and then there's reformists ideologically, philosophically. And I said that literally at that point, I said that's where I fall. So I can't remember who it was. I think it was Givy who said this. That's where I fall. And I fall that way because I lived in the United States my entire life and we are a reformist system philosophically. We reform and our bills, our policies, our procedures, our narratives, from everything, we build 250 years of America based off of reform. And so that's the guiding philosophy that I personally hold. I don't fit into any boxes. So you can't fit me into any box when it comes to Iran politically. It's very hard to do. And I think that's part of the problem is because people want me to be assigned to one box and I'm not. So I just wanted to clear that up for you, Gibby, to...
I'm not trying to take up... I'm sorry, AJ, I'll just respond 10 seconds. I'm not trying to attack you in any way. I just said that a lot of points maybe something in that direction. And I personally, I don't support reformists as an ideology. I think in a perfect world, a whole regime change would be good in Iran, but I think that is the most likely direction they're heading if anything changes. Thank you. And I'm sorry if I offended you.
Just real quick though, Mariam, I respect your seeking out of nuance on these topics. I don't think enough people do that. And you're right, these things are really complicated. But there are some questions where we do have to be clear-minded about, and it is a yes or no answer. Nuclear acquirement is one of those questions. When someone asks you point blank, should the IRGC acquire a nuke? And you start talking about, well, it's complicated because, Pakistan has a nuke and where is Israel's smoke for Pakistan, et cetera, et cetera. What are you saying? It's one or the other. Like, you can't have half a nuke. So either you are comfortable with the idea of a regime like the IRGC acquiring a nuke, or you are not. Like, there is no spectrum there. So I think that's where I struggle with. I feel like sometimes you are seeking out important nuance, but other times I feel like there's a little bit of kicking up dust in the air to overcomplicate a question that we should be more clear-minded about.
Let me chime in here.
So you missed everything I said there.
No, Mariam. Let me if I could.
Sounded like he was listening.
Paul, I was the one that.
With all due respect, Paul, I'm gonna defer to TC. I'm gonna get Mariam to be able to respond to that direct question.
Actually, I have a suspicion that TC is going to say what I want to say.
Well, I just wanted to chime in. I don't think this is fair to Mariam. I know she has come on the stage and has been the focal point of conversation. I asked the question purely provocatively because I thought it would evoke this type of response in terms of conversation. With that being said, I have to be honest, I come from a Western perspective. You guys are coming from a Middle Eastern perspective, and I respect that. With that being said, though, Mariam, I think in terms of just like the intelligence you bring to the conversation, the detail, the respect for the complexity of the conversation, I think it demands a firm, integral response to what your position is when it comes to this current regime, IRGC. And I understand that you are trying to kind of, weigh the equities here. And that's fair. And I think coming from, learn a little bit about your history, I think that's what informs your commentary, and I can respect that as well. But I think, again, the conversation demands with somebody that have such a deep, rich understanding of the histories and the context in which this conversation is having, it demands a response. And so I just would love to give you an opportunity, if you can, even if you decide to color it with more context, nuance, and complexity, that's fine. But from your opinion, when you wake up in the morning, you face this issue, is the world better off with or without a nuclear-armed Iran under this current regime?
Yeah, okay. And we're going to get one idiot That's all right. We found the schmuck. Okay, he's gone. Mariam, look, I think it's fair. It is a fair question. I was asking a pretty direct question. It wasn't about trying to pin you into a box in the slightest. It was about, look, for me, it's a matter of trying to understand. Honestly, it's about values.
So
I'd like to be able to understand what your values.
So when you asked me as an Israeli, if I were an Israeli, do I understand that? How did I answer that, Ro?
You said that you'd understand the concern.
Yes, and I would agree. And no, I'm going to get there.
It's a different question.
I'm going to get there.
I think it was my question was the one that was first posed.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there so that everybody can record this and timestamp it and make sure that they listen to it very carefully. So when Rowan asked me that question, I said, I understand as an Israeli, and I would agree as an Israeli. If I was an Israeli, that I would say, yes, get that shit out of there, right? When TC asked me my position on it, I said, I had to explain some background, and I answered you, TC. Didn't I say I can't just answer it really short? I have to give you some background because there is some dimension to it. But where I landed on that was, I said, given the behavior and the actions, since Iran, even amidst the JCPOA and the U.S. backing out, I said, even though the U.S. backed out of it, there were other nations that were involved in it that Iran had an agreement with. And Iran let it get out of hand, whether intentionally or not, and I think it was intentional. I'm going to say that right now, that they intentionally increased their enrichment production. And I said that moment, yes, this is a problem, and it is a concern, and I understand it as a concern. Enrichment leads to nuclear bomb, right? And so if I'm framing it that way, I would think intellectually that the way that it is received by others would be that statement. But I thought it was important for the conversation to add that dimension to it because we have to understand the why. We have to be able to justify it with data points. We have to be able to explain the behavior of it and why. And as Iranians, sometimes we get caught up in the emotions of it. And we're just like, we hate the regime. Okay, it's got to go. And we know everything about the regime is shitty. Yes, I get it. I'm right there with you guys. I mean, I think Ro explained who I am and who my grandfather is. Like, my grandfather was put in prison. I have cousins that were executed. I had a cousin who had to escape. Like, I mean, I've had another cousin that was in prison for 3 years for speaking out against the regime. So I'm not saying this because I'm trying to sugarcoat what I'm saying. Hang on, AJ. I'm trying to say that when I answer you guys, if I add a little bit more context or depth to it, if you listen carefully, you will still hear my response to you.
I'm sorry, Mariam. Saying it's a concern is not a direct answer to the question. I welcome your injecting of nuance in the conversation. But again, if you actually listen carefully to what you just said, you did not answer the question directly. And that's fine. You don't have to answer the question. But I don't like pretending that you're answering and then not answering it. Saying you understand and empathize with the concern and it's a problem, that's not an answering of the question of whether or not you believe the IRGC and these mullahs should or should not be armed with a nuclear weapon. Forget about whether pretending to be an Israeli and whether you understand the concerns from a global perspective, from an objective perspective. Do you believe the IRGC should be armed with a nuke? And I'm asking it rhetorically now because the last 3 times you were asked it directly, you again just evade it and you say it's a concern. That's not an answer. I'm sorry.
So rhetorically, any nation that doesn't follow the rules of engagement should not have a nuclear weapon. And the reason why I brought up Pakistan was because if we're framing it on principle of any nation who doesn't follow the rules of being able to have one or create one when they have an enrichment program or nuclear reactor or whatever, I'm going to say it again, AJ. I agree, rhetorically, I don't think that any nation should have that capability. So if we're saying that, if I'm saying that, that means that if Iran checks off the boxes and is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then Iran also should not have a nuclear weapon. I take it how you want, AJ. I am done engaging in this. If you guys don't want to listen carefully, but I'm saying that on principle, I am operating on principle as my North Star because right now in this very emotional time, when a lot of people are upset about a lot of things, there's only one thing that can guide us and ground us to the ground, and that's principle. So on principle, no, I do not think that any nation should have that, including Iran. And I hope that finally answers your question.
I'm going to jump in here. David, hold on a second, because I've been listening for like the last hour and a half, whatever. Now I'm just going to speak my opinion. No smoke with anybody. I respect most of the people on the stage. But we have a regime, right, that fully funds Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis. As a Zionist, an American Jew, right, they got to be taken out just for that, because they're the shit stirrers in that region. And that's my opinion. Now, as far as them having the nukes, when they come out and say the day we get the bomb is the day we use the bomb, right? I believe them because of the support they have for these terrorist organizations. I believe that they want to destroy Israel, right? But let me say this. And I was thinking about this while you guys were having this conversation. And it's not the same, but it kind of ties together in my crazy Brooklyn mind. When Abraham Lincoln engaged in the Civil War, his goal wasn't to free the slaves. His goal was to keep the Union together. If the Persian people could somehow gain their freedom through this, I say God bless them. Let them live free. Give them, and whatever may come, may come. But you know what? We know what we're dealing with right now, and what we see: the oppression, the suppression, the killing of their own people. So people can say what they want. They can ride the fence. They're smarter than everybody else. There needs to be a regime change just for peace in the world, because they support terrorist organizations.
Okay, so I've stayed up well past my bedtime, but it's been really worthwhile. I'm going to be heading off, but I wanted to say, first of all, thanks JB for allowing us to be able to entertain the idea of being able to cut with the program that you were having prior to this. It wasn't something that was pre-organized. It was really something on the fly, and I just appreciate that. A big thanks to Miriam. Please, Miriam, feel free to be able to stay around. I just want to thank you personally for, I guess, look, I mean, your position is something that I find really interesting. I don't fully understand it. I'm not going to say that I disagree with it entirely, but it's something I feel like I need to be able to have it, and I'd love the opportunity to be able to have further discussion with you about it at some point in time. Now, I guess, and say, look, you've been through so much. You've shared with me privately what's occurred. Really happy for you, finally coming out and sharing what your experience has been and what your history is and your family and so forth. It must be it must be a great relief for you in some way, shape, or form. In many ways, in fact. So, look, with that, I just want to say good night. Thanks so much for entertaining the conversation. Look forward to doing it again. Always a pleasure.
Hold on, guys. Listen, when Rohan leaves, this room got like maybe another 10 minutes. Let's be civil to each other. You didn't hear me speaking? I'm sorry. You didn't hear my voice? I'm sorry. You want me to get a little louder?
Maybe he didn't talk.
Okay. Hold on a second. Can I run my room? Thank you. We're going to go Navin, and then I want to go... Oh, Michaela left. Oh, Michaela, you're there. We'll go Navin, then Michaela. Go ahead.
Thank you, JB. So I'm here. I'm an Indian. A lot of problems can be solved because a lot of people can make fun of Indians easily, and I don't take it to heart. Okay, do not redeem all the stuff. But anyway, basically, I kind of understand where both sides are coming from. Mostly because when I follow American politics, I kind of feel like no one wants boots on the ground for this kind of war. Okay. Israel war. I think Trump is doing kind of really good by trying to support Israeli people by trying to dismantle the nukes or whatever. But when the Israeli people said they want to kill the leader of Iran, Trump initially said no, don't kill him, because I think he knew like if that happened, if a sudden regime change happened, there was going to be like a power vacuum or something like that. Because there might, like, whatever happened in the previous Middle Eastern wars, all the terrorist groups or whatever, they could have been born anew or something like that. Maybe that's why like regime change is kind of being, hesitated upon. And I think Miriam is kind of leaning on towards whatever JB and other people. I think AI was it? He wasn't here. He isn't here right now. Is kind of on that point. I mean, Miriam is on that point, but she can't say certain things or whatever. So she can't openly state it. This is what I feel. So basically, I think that quick regime change will lead to a lot of unforeseen consequences. So I think it'd be best, to like dismantle the nukes, and then let's see how the regime change goes or whatever, how the people feel about it or whatever. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Naveen. Thank you, Naveen. Michaela, are you there, Michaela?
Yeah, I just have a minute. I have an appointment coming up. I just wanted, I've been in and out, but I'd like to know if, Maryam, I would think that maybe the Crown Prince is talking to the Kurds, I hope. I would think that maybe he would be forming a provisional government that would include them and maybe solve part of that problem. Maryam?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm going to share something I've shared in smaller circles here amongst all of you. Back when the Masa Amini movement started, the Women Life Freedom movement and all of that started, there was a coalition that was created, and it included the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, it included the leader of a Kurdish group that everybody calls separatist group. It included Shirin Ebadi, who's a human rights lawyer. It included, Nazanin Bonyadi and a number of other people. Okay, so it included a nice knights table, if you will, of different people that represent a different faction of people, right? That was the first time in modern history, at least in the last 46 years, I would even venture to say before that even, because it was in your face, out in the public. They had a website, they had coalition meetings, they had press conferences, they had all of this stuff going on, right? And it was the first time that the diaspora, and even on the inside, you saw the movement on the inside, you saw that happen. But then because certain people that had allegiances to one party put pressure on certain people in that coalition, it broke apart, Michaela. So when that happened, a lot of people who are vocal, adamantly vocal and despise the regime and don't have the same fears I have to speak so loudly about it, those people fell off. They were upset. They thought to themselves, hold on a second here, this really isn't going to happen. This is a joke. They've made a mockery of it, right? So the faith and the trust in that has disappeared. So your question is a really good question. But unfortunately, the trust is not there anymore because you have a lot of people that are very anti-separatist, anti-Kurd separatist. So when they hear a narrative or a faction of the population and you hear a leader talking to somebody like that, you get that. Reza Pahlavi also said in the very beginning, after the dismantling of the coalition, immediately after that, he said, I would even sit at the table with Maryam Rajavi, who's the presumed leader and the self-elected president of the MEK. He got a lot of backlash for that. Lost a lot of supporters. In fact, one of them is a really, really well-known Iranian woman here in these spaces. She said, after that day, I couldn't have anything to do with him. After I saw him a part of that coalition, I couldn't have anything to do with him. This is the complexity that I was talking about when I said I have a fear that right now we're not unified enough for it to make the difference that we are expecting to see. It has nothing to do with my desire to have the regime stay or go.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you. Paul, how you doing, Paul?
Hey, JB. Thanks for letting me on stage. As an American, I'm just kind of taking a wide view on this from the understanding that the last time we went into a country in the Middle East with this kind of complexity, we spent almost 20 years there, and Iraq is still kind of a gigantic mess of conflicting ideological and religious and ethnic groups that are still fighting for dominance. So I really don't want us involved in Iran in any way, shape, or form. The population is almost 3 times the size of Iraq. It would be trillions of dollars if we went in there. Decapitating the Iranian regime is probably a no-go because they have so many bunkers. They have backups. They have, continuity of government plans the same way that the U.S. and most Western governments do. So the fact is, removing them is, unless you're willing to put the U.S. military and the Israeli Defense Forces on the ground, it's probably going to be a no-go. So, the fact is, negotiations are probably the only way you're going to get out of this. And the idea
Hey, Paul, let me ask you a question. Respectfully. Did you see when the IDF sent those beepers out? How they were able to eliminate a bunch of people with just beepers? Did you see how? Wait. Let me finish. Did you see how they saved my friend Shlomo from this app when they went in there and they rescued him and 3 other hostages? I'm sure if they want to assassinate the head of the regime over there, it wouldn't take much.
So I think they probably could, but there are layers of government they've built in there. They've been under siege for almost 50 years. These aren't stupid people. This isn't a terrorist cell like Hezbollah. This is an actual functional centralized government with tax revenue and foreign relations. I think there's a very real difference between regime change and removing Hezbollah's leadership and going after a centralized nation state. That this is a very different thing. It was even different in Iraq. Iraq had spent 15 years under severe economic limitations. There were trade barriers. They couldn't trade oil abroad, and they'd been slowly sort of whittled away. Iran is in a very different situation. They know the terrain. They know the people. This is going to be a very, very difficult and hard campaign. If the U.S. really wants to go in and start bombing them, I think it's going to be a very different campaign than what we've been used to for the last 20 or 30 years, which is these blitzkrieg strikes. You drop bombs and you put special forces on the ground, and congratulations, we've now removed the regime. This is a very different situation. So I think the other thing that we need to keep in mind here is that I understand if I was an Israeli, I would not want them to have a bomb, but the Israelis do have a fully functioning nuclear arsenal of their own of at least 100, if not 200 nuclear weapons. We know they've open air tested in the late 70s with the South Africans down in the South Atlantic Ocean. They do have a functioning nuclear arsenal that, I think somebody brought up to Miriam, like, why don't they just go into Pakistan? If the Pakistanis ever launched a weapon at the Israelis, it wouldn't just be the Israelis launching at them. The Indians have a fully functioning arsenal of a couple of 100 warheads themselves. Pakistan would be a pile of ash at the end of that. Like, there would be no sort of wavering. Everybody would launch at them, and that'd be the end of it. The Iranians barely have a delivery platform.
Paul, hold on a second. How many conflicts has Israel engaged in since October 7th?
Several.
And I'm not talking about just Gaza. I'm talking about other areas, right? How many nukes have they fired?
They haven't had to, but if the Pakistanis launched a warhead at them, that would be the equivalent of a mutually assured destruction scenario where the Israelis would have no choice other than to use the nuclear weapon in response. And the Israelis do have a functional arsenal, a very large one. Everybody knows about it. It's the worst kept secret in foreign relations.
Paul's right, but he's rude.
How am I rude exactly?
How is he rude? I thought he was very respectful. All right, to the other mods, TC, Rohan, Hope, Miriam. I'm out of here. You guys want to keep it open, you're more than welcome to. Just let me know. If not, we'll close it down. Miriam, TC.
I have to go, but thank you. TC, I sent you a message too.
Appreciate it. JB, I'm on my way out.
Okay. All right, so we're going to close the room. Guys, been a great room, great conversation. Probably open another one tonight. Everybody be well, be safe, and be nice.
He wasn't really telling everybody to move back to Africa, but he was trying to let everybody know that they have African roots.
I want to, before we go to Ron, because Ron, this is here, I want you to consider this, because in your last submission, you were talking about the IEA. Eagle Hawk says IEA chief cleans up Israel using their report, states they have no weapon program as of June 20th, 2025. IAE chief says agency's report on Iran's secret nuclear activity wasn't the cause of Israeli military offense. And he puts that link in the chat. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at that, but the IAEA is saying, listen, don't make them the reason why we go to war, because they have not said that they are at the 60%. Go ahead.
Can I just answer a statement that Fires made? Because I just want to clarify.
No, Pete. No. I got to be impeccable about my word. I said I was going to Ron. That's what I'm doing. You can get in after Ron, since nobody asked. Cool beans. And y'all gonna have to run yourselves in a minute, because I gotta do some things. I gotta also speak to my girl Mel. Hey Mel, y'all was showing out last night. Hey, happy Friday. Saturday. Sorry.
Happy Saturday.
All right, go ahead, Ron. Or Mike.
So I'm looking at a copy of the CIA report that Fies believes that he quoted about Israel stealing fissionable material or uranium in 1965, and it says there's no credible evidence that it was released. Now I don't know how useful this report is from the CIA.gov, but that's what it says. And in the event, basically that's it. I mean, nobody knows that Israel has any nuclear weapons. Nobody's ever seen them, and most of it's just sort of conspiracy theories. Now, it's possible that Israel may have them. I don't know, but as far as any other evidence that I've looked at on the internet, nobody says that it has it, and I don't think that anybody has a quote-unquote God-given right to just build nuclear weapons. One of the reasons why we have such restrictions on certain weapons is because they are so dangerous that they can cause cataclysmic issues in society, right? Just one nuclear bomb in the middle of anywhere can cause a drift of humans to move from one place to another, and also cause damage to the atmosphere as we know it. Unfortunately, it seems that based off of what I know who have lived in Iran and who live in Iran that I've spoken to, the current regime is not a type of regime that you want to trust. I understand that some of us have issues with America and what America has done throughout history, but I do think that there are some bad people that you can trust to some extent, and then some bad people that you don't fully understand. And I think that people in the West really don't understand what it is to live in certain environments, especially those that are controlled by a particular type of religious ideology. And unfortunately, that is the current situation of the Iranian regime. And again, when we say the regime, we mean the Ayatollah, and not necessarily the people or the government, but the supreme leader of religious ideology.
Can I jump in now? I mean, I just wanted to mention, well done, Ron, for saying that. But also, I just want to say, Fires mentioned something earlier. He said that Israel has attacked 6 countries in however many years, and Iran has not attacked one. Well, I'll tell you where you're completely wrong here, Fires, is that the reason why these countries have been attacked is because Iran has been funding and projecting its proxies and promoting its proxies through these countries. If you take a look at all the countries that have been attacked by Israel, it is effectively those terrorist organizations that have been set up and funded by Iran. Okay, that is the only reason why Israel has had to constantly defend itself. The only reason why Israel has had to do that is because of Iran. All right? So when you talk about the idea that Iran has never attacked another country, Iran has done it in such a way that it's hidden its vicious intent from the rest of the world in the way in which it's doing exactly the same thing with its nuclear program. And for you to sit there and say, so what if it's making 60% of enrichment uranium? Well, the 60% of enrichment uranium is specifically for it to be over to its proxies, so its proxies can then use it to attack the rest of the world. And believe you me, it's not only Israel they want, it's the West, and they've made it very clear. And then to sit there and say that they don't want to attack anybody, they don't have any intention to attack anybody, when the Ayatollah himself turns around and says death to America,
Yeah, but who
death
are
to Israel.
you to terminate other people's life and other people's project? Who are you to determine that? That's the point. Who are
Who
you?
am I? I'll tell you who I am. I am the person who's going to protect my next of kin from somebody who says they want to take my life. That's who I am. Who are you to tell me that you want to take my life?
Can
Who are you to tell me that you want to take my life?
the mods I would like to respond to Ron and Pikachu. Okay, I think it's okay to respond. Ron, you mentioned about you do not know whether Israel has nuclear weapons or not. See, nobody knows, but everybody thinks, most of the analysts and experts think Israel has nuclear weapons. That's why everybody has been asking that Israel should sign the NPT and allow IAEA inspectors to inspect its sites so that it can be clear whether it has nuclear weapons or not. And here's the point. If Israel doesn't have nuclear weapons, why doesn't it allow the IAEA to do the inspections? It has nothing to fear if it doesn't have the nuclear weapons. Then as far as Pikachu, your point is concerned, here's my answer. Okay, yes, Iran has been empowering Hezbollah, Hamas, and other organizations, just as Israel has been empowering Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria. And I think Iran did the right thing by empowering Hezbollah and Hamas because they are resistance forces. They may be terrorist organizations for you, but for me, they were fighting an occupation. Okay, and both of them, incidentally, were born in the 1980s, Hezbollah and Hamas, whereas Israel was born in 1948. Okay, so that shows that they were a product of something. What was that something? That something was oppression and occupation by Israel. Otherwise, Hezbollah and Hamas would not have been born. Okay, and I see nothing wrong in Israel, in Iran, supporting these organizations and helping them. And I would like Iran to continue to do so, just like America does it to Israel. So why should I have a problem with that? And I feel threatened. You kept saying
somebody supporting somebody.
No, Pikachu, I didn't complete. Pikachu, I didn't complete. Please. I'm coming to that. Okay. They have. Everybody feels threatened by what Israel will do next. Okay, you're talking about they shouted death to America. Ayatollah shouted. Somebody said death to Israel. Okay, there are 24 Israeli ministers right now who are saying that every Palestinian should be annihilated. Every Palestinian, including Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Smotrich.
That is false.
No, what is false? People can you can do your hasbara as much as possible.
Please don't interrupt again. You have 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, there is Google, there is AI, there is ChatGPT. People can check what the Israeli leaders have been saying. So according to your logic, Pikachu, Palestinians, because they are being threatened with death, they have a right to annihilate Israel then. That's what you are saying.
Well, you heard it all here, folks. You heard Fayez saying, I'm in full support of Iran continuing with its death rant to America and Israel.
Good.
Congratulations, Fayez.
Let me respond. I didn't say that. I said I support Iran supporting Hamas and Hezbollah.
No,
That's it.
you don't even have to correct yourself. We know what you said. Like, when people say stuff like that, it just lets us know how fucking off base you are with where
sure,
everybody
Sydney.
else is
First
at.
of all, don't come off your mic and tell me.
You don't have to correct yourself. We heard what you said. It wasn't like that.
All right, listen. Y'all gotta chill back. All right, cool. Like, listen, today is the day of Sabbath. All right, for those that practice. If you don't, then that's fine, but still respect others. All this hostility is giving me anxiety, and I don't need anxiety because then that means I can't rest in my femininity, right? So you guys want me to talk soft to you? You want me to be nice and kind? I need you guys to do the same to each other. All right? When you guys come off a mic and you start interrupting, that's you're not holding your water. Okay, who's that?
This is your guy with the picture of Khamenei.
So you can have a seat.
And he's not going.
Okay, you need to have a seat in the audience too. Thank you. Go ahead, little Ashy. I'm not going to take disrespect because I don't disrespect people. But if you disrespect me, I definitely will return in kind. Thank you. The conversation was going good. Guys, just let one another talk one at a time. And Muds, if you're there, I need your help. I need to get ready for something. Hey, Dr. Goddess, how are you? Happy Saturday. Ash, I see you flashing your mic. But there was a conversation. Okay, Sydney, I see you flashing your mic. Sweet was actually the first person that asked, could he speak? So we're going to go to Sweet, Ash, Sydney. But Sydney, you just got on stage and you're starting to pick a fight. I don't know what's going on. Be nice. You got a sunshine, smiley face on there. Keep it that way. All right, Sweet. On mic on you.
Absolutely. For those of us, again, I know Robert took an issue with me saying the fact that inside America right now, wherever you live, California, LA, New York, whatever it is, you're not involved. We're not, actively like how our people over here dying. Yeah, so the point is being drawn into this war as Americans. American people, American soldiers actually now, and so many generations now have understood America's not trying to get engaged actively, personally in any foreign wars. Okay, so we can bring peace, that's one thing. But I wanted to say that because to say that when any people that recognize who is fueling who, and we're watching these individuals that can't talk. A lot of times they come in the clubhouse, it gets so charged because they're in the trenches and their rational abilities aren't present because they're in the trenches. And when you're in the trenches, your rational abilities are out the window. You're just trying to hurl bombs at them real quick and kill them before they kill you. So of course, both sides we're watching want to exterminate the other. And so we're watching that, but there's also the idea, which is fine in one sense. If that's what y'all want to do, that's fine. But the rest of the world that's not engaged in that at all, that physically, the 300 million are not the ones in that. But to sign up in the military and then to be over there now, and now you lose your life. At some point you say, why did my son lose his life? What the hell? Was that the best move? To have him enlist to go over there and two other countries and histories and they can't get along. If they gonna self-destruct, what the hell is the reason that, even though we know the details, America's back in Israel, these details do matter. But when you start talking about you're living your life on a whole other page, people have cleared the brush in America to have some elbow room. Thank God I'm in America. Cool, I can do this, I can do that. It's the best place on the planet. But now you got to go over here and lose your life. And so the details matter. Before you say, I'm going to put my life on the line, the story does matter. Even though players that are in it, are in the trenches, they can't rationalize anymore. And one side saying, hey, I'm going to defend myself. And it's to the point now where we're watching the game of who's defending themselves. It comes a point when you get to swinging and throwing blows and dropping bombs, it's hard to remember, for those that don't really know, who's really defending themselves. That's why it does matter that Iran has not actually done it. Oh, I thought you were going to hit me, so I hit you first. But you look like you're getting upset about what I'm doing to your cousin, so I'm going to come I'm going to go drop these bombs on you, and then when you retaliate, and you say, okay, and you retaliate, now you want to still play victim? It doesn't work anywhere on the planet. They were not messing with you. If they decide to build up whatever the hell they want to build up, like any other country on the planet. But what makes sense is you're saying as those that already have it, America, whoever, we get to determine whether you get to have them or not. Doesn't matter about the facts of the history. And that's what you're asking the planet to understand or think, America, is don't care about the whole history. Don't care about the moral stance. Don't care about the right to return. Don't care about any of these well-grooved in conversations while this whole thing has been unfolding since 47 and before. Hitler is a part of this conversation because of the extermination and now secular Zionism. Zionism that's why I like what the man said earlier, where he called it out like that's an oxymoron. You can't have it both ways. Secular, don't believe in religion, all that, but then Zionism, which is all about, hey, this is all right because of what has happened in history and Moses. And so you see a game being played. And so meanwhile, though, all of this is happening. So fast forward to right now. In a week or two or tomorrow, who knows when, could be after 2 weeks, we never know with Donald Trump. But the idea is if he says we're going to use these B-1 bombers and goes over there, it is on in a way where you cannot put those worms back in the bottle ever. This is a unique time on this planet. I don't know any study of history where these countries have nuclear energy and Hiroshima is one thing, okay, good. But now a lot of different countries. That's all. Okay, let me wrap up. So, last few seconds here. So this is what we're watching. So those two may not ever agree, Iran, Israel, but the reality is us as Americans right now, we have American passports. Now Donald Trump is looking at seriously going over there and putting a lot of troops in harm's way, and who knows whatever else Iran can touch and their allies if he decides we're going to do this B-1 bomber thing and blow up. What's that one with the F? The spot where they got to go down 90, whatever, they got to go down pretty far to debunk the whole thing. If he decides to do that, Iran has made it very clear, okay, we're going to do whatever we're going to do after that.
Ash, Sydney. Or am I giving
this. I just want to say something. You, not yourself. You who live in Colorado, who live in Oregon, who live in Miami, who live Iranian people. They are part of your society, and you mix with them and you live with them. Iranian people, I'm not fanatic, I hate the Khomeini regime, but this doesn't give permission. There is many things that the Israeli or the Israeli occupied force country, they dismantle our society and the system and the world system. First of all, attacking nuclear facility. This is not allowed in nowhere by nowhere. Nowhere and nowhere it's not allowed. See that? Genocide, starving people. They dismantle everything. I don't know. We see that they take the world. Really, I saw campaign on TikTok and everywhere that people say, Iran, just finish the show. Just do it. Just do it. Why? Because this aggressor cannot stop. See, this Benjamin Maladetto Netanyahu, to stay in power and stay out of jail, he has to stay always, continuously in fucking war. And he put United States, Iran, never we can fucking arrive to United States. They never have a problem with the United States. The truth of United States, they are in the Gulf area, in all the Gulf country, and the biggest base of United States in the Gulf, it's in Qatar. They never had a problem. Never had a problem. But no.
I'm jumping after this guy.
Now we have, sorry, just a second and I will laugh. Now, because of Israel, we have to go in war. Guys, go in war against Iran that doesn't present any threat to the United States. It's just because some fucking oligarch, they won't interrupt the communication or the trade between China and Russia arriving to Europe is to dismantle Iran. Iran learned from the lesson of Iraq. Iran saw what's happening in Iraq. Iran doesn't need the nuclear bomb. Doesn't need. All of us, we saw Iran doesn't need the nuclear bomb. Iran, with the supersonic missile, they can flat it all the cities, major cities.
or we can call it in Palestine, occupied terrain. But United States got pulled in this mess. I don't see any benefit for you or for anyone. Have a parent, have a children, have a cousin, leave the Gulf area, because this Gulf area and this Gulf country, they are dismembered, and it's a fire. Fire, fire, fire. It's the real fire war. If and Israel try to pull the United States inside, it's going to be messy, 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 messy. And there's no need for it because Iran of coming. That is, we are not allowed to build a nuclear bomb. There is nothing can change that. And this for everyone. And the United States, it was interrogation for representative of the CIA, and they declared Iran doesn't build nuclear bomb. This is 10 weeks ago, and you can search and you find. We do it, this scenario, we already have seen it before in Iraq. Don't follow, don't lose yourself in this bullshit of Netanyahu. Netanyahu will drag all the world to the world end to stay in power and stay alive, doing fucking whatever you want with your money. Land your plane. With your money, my life.
Yeah, so, okay. All right, you landed real quick. So, there you go.
Hold on. Unless you're a mod. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's all good what he's trying to say and what you're saying, right? Israel is definitely provoking shit, but let's not act like Iran is clean. Okay? You said that Iran has never did anything to U.S. soldiers. That's bullshit. So don't come on the stage lying and giving false information. Because all throughout Iraq, who was sponsoring shit? Who's funding them?
Could you place a link that Iranian Basij o Iranian soldier hanno presentato the present Greek for the US United States soldier in Gulf area?
Don't speak over me. So you didn't hear me say anything about Iranian soldiers. I said Iran. So don't play fucking dumb and act like the nation of Iran does not fund this shit. Okay, yeah, Israel is definitely in the wrong right now, but don't come over here acting like you're fucking a victim of that and trying to...
Give me a link, man. Give me a link. I'm not speaking about you. I said, give me a link that Iran present threat to the United States.
Let me jump in. I was in the queue. If you're done...
Go ahead.
Okay. So first, I want to say, Fayaz, when I jumped in earlier, I was agreeing with you. Like, I was trying to bring, like, this fact, like, dudes, like, I just want you to know you heard it here first. Like, it's okay to chant death to America. That's, like, the stupidest, most asinine argument. I mean, like, my entire lifetime, I've been hearing conservative war hawks talk about erase Iran off the map, and that hasn't happened. And I don't know anybody personally or anybody in my extended friend groups who believe Iran should be erased off the map, but that's something that you will hear on the news. Like I said, I'm 42, my entire lifetime. If you were from somewhere else, you would think every American wants Iran erased off the map. It's absolutely not true. So making some stupid ass argument about hearing the Ayatollahs say death to America, like, to me, that just doesn't make any sense. But to address what you just said real quick, Haitian, we gassed Saddam Hussein up to invade Iran in the 80s. After the revolution, we told them, we lied to them, said Iran was weak. Now's the time to pounce. We funded him, gassed him up, and sent him in there to get his ass kicked. So, like, that was what we did to them. Like, if we want to talk about who has proxies, who's funding what, like, we are the proxy kings. Like, that shit is over there because we are the original proxy. Like, we set up all the original proxies in the Middle East when we knocked over Iran in the first place for British Petroleum in the UK. Like, so we could talk about, like, who did what first and this and that. Like, okay, that's a stupid regular conversation that we could get in. What's happening right now is you have an attack from Israel on Iran's nuclear facilities. And the pretext is from Benjamin Milikowski. This nigga's name is not Netanyahu, okay? He's an Eastern European, okay? Ever since 95, damn near my whole life, as long as I can remember seeing news, they've been 2-3 months away from getting a nuke. My whole fucking life. This dude has come on the news at least 20 times over the past 35 years talking about they're 2-3 weeks away from getting a nuke. And we've already been through this. Like, we went through this in Iraq. WMDs. Do you want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud over New York? All this fucking rhetoric. We went through this, and I thought we'd healed from this. I mean, the Republicans are now, they consider themselves an anti-war party. If you had to ask Republicans 3 weeks ago what they thought about a war with Iran, their number one line was, like, America first, we're done fighting other people's wars. Tulsi Gabbard, 10 weeks ago, no nuclear program. The intelligence community agrees. No nuclear program whatsoever. And now here we are, like, literally discussing, should Iran be able to have a nuke? Like this is like an educated conversation that we're having with each other. Like, should we allow them to have a nuke? Like, come on, like, how gullible are we? Like, how stupid are we? And then when you look at Iran and how they've conducted themselves over the last 40 years, I see no more of a rational, calculated actor in the Middle East than the way Iran has acted. I mean, you would think that they couldn't even touch Israel the way after Soleimani got bopped. And back in October, when they sent over a few drones and, like, you know, I think they hit a military base or something. They might have landed like 10 hits in all of Israel. You would have thought they couldn't even empty out the city of Haifa like they've just done. Like they are raining hell down on Israel. These people have been acting in a cold, like a calculated, very thoughtful manner. These people aren't fanatics. But let these, like that dude who's trying to get us hyped up on the Ayatollah chant, death to America, let people like him tell it. These people who have been acting like the most rational people in the Middle East, let them tell it. They get a nuke. The first thing they're doing is sending a nuclear bomb to Israel to wipe it off the map so they can enjoy mutually assured destruction and have their entire society wiped out. We're supposed to believe they're Islamic, radical fundamentalists and crazy fucking nut jobs, but we don't see them acting like that. And we're supposed to go to war to prevent these radical fucking fanatics from getting a bomb because, like I said, let people tell it as soon as they get a bomb, the world is over and shit. Like, this shit makes no sense. And if anybody's awake, they'll know that this is all just bullshit propaganda designed to get your head mixed up in a blender. But all you have to do is have your fucking eyes open and have been paying attention for the last 20 years to know this is all bullshit. Milikowski is trying to get us into his bullshit because he's got a death penchant for wiping Iran off the face of the earth. That's all it is.
Yeah. Can I respond to that? No, not respond to, actually, to be honest, to add on to what Sydney said. Sydney, I agree with most of the points you made, okay? I mean, almost all the points. Here's the solution that I think should resolve all the problems. So it's whatever you say, whatever we talk about. It was Israel that attacked Iran on the 13th of this month, okay? It could have waited for 3 days for the last round of negotiations to take place from 16th onwards. But it did not wait. Milikowski had to do this war for his own survival, like you said, and he did. So what's the way forward? The way forward, in my opinion, is not more and more American sons and daughters dying for Israel. American children have died enough number of times, enough more than required number of times for Israel. And Americans have spent enough money for Israel. I think it needs to stop, because as long as a country, why don't other countries go to wars? You know, that's because war costs money. And Israel doesn't have to worry about money. Israelis don't have to worry about their taxpayers tax money going for war. They don't have to worry about it because you Americans take care of them, take care of their wars, their bombs. So they don't have to worry about it. The day Israelis have to worry about their tax money going for war and they do not have medical aid, free education, that's the day wars started by Israel will stop.
Amen. And we need that to happen ASAP. From now going forward, any congressperson that supports Israel, I'm not voting for them. I don't give a shit.
Trump, you voted for Trump. Trump supports Israel. What are you talking about?
Odie, from now going forward, any person that supports Israel, I know. Hey, Odie, I just said from now going forward, right? From now going forward, any person, any congressman, any senator, any state, I don't care what level, supports Israel, I'm not voting for them. I need people to be American.
Hold on, don't be.
I am over it.
People told you about Trump's support for Israel. Miriam, I just seen the Jewish, you could hear that most of the people that were supporting Trump were on that side, but you still voted for him. You're just a hypocrite. Don't come and tell me anything.
No, not because I'm a hypocrite. No. Because majority of MAGA voters, people who voted for this Make American Great movement, voted for Trump under the pretense that Trump was going to put America first. No, he's putting Israel first.
So just a quick one. Dumpy, aka
Did you vote for Trump?
You voted for Trump. Dumpy, are you trying to be disingenuous here?
Lisa, leave my friend alone. Wait a minute, what's going on?
Sorry,
don't do that.
That was my own personal response to somebody who voted for Trump. That's it. It has nothing to do with nobody on the stage at all.
Sorry,
okay, that's his friend? Okay.
It's my Cameroonian brother. I have to sympathize.
You'll love Dawn, Lisa.
Oh, I love Dawn? Niggas
You
with
will.
some parts around here.
School, my brother. School, my brother.
What are you on the stage?
Yeah, I'm Haitian. School. You know what makes me laugh is that we had this argument, me and you. Haitian was not in the room because we had this argument about Trump and Israel, and you turned a blind eye. You claimed, oh, it's not going to happen. And I was listing the names of Jewish billionaires that were supporting. You know how much Miriam Alderson gave Trump to school? Do you know how much she gave Trump? One person. Do you know how much she gave Trump? $100 million. And she said that she wants West Bank. So please don't come here and pretend. Thank you. God bless.
Odion, I have a question for you. Iran, the war against Iran, it's good for American people or not? One question, just simple question. Just give me an answer.
It's not good for American
The
people.
population, not for, no, I'm talking about the American population. It's good for American population.
It's not good for American
Trump
population.
go to strike.
There is no war that's good for any population. I don't know what war is good for anyone.
No, I just want to hear the answer from Odion because it looks like people, you vote for Trump to finish the war. But basically, as how we see that there is a wing that take Trump to war, and the MAGA, in some kind of how, they try to adapt it. But the current is too strong. We are against fucking war. So I'm asking Odion, is a war, if Trump, he go in war against Iran, it's good for the American people or not? It's a simple question. I want to hear the answer.
I don't support Trump, so I don't know why you're asking me that question.
But war is good for your economy. This is the thing. The country, United States, the whole economy of the country is based on wars. So basically, when war happens outside your country, your economy runs. So technically, you guys should support this. But as a human, you guys shouldn't. So that's kind of a paradox living you guys have there.
No, Kasra, United States and Israel's economy are dependent on the weapons industry. You are right. but not every country is like that. There are countries that have built their economies on things other than weapons. Okay, and like, but one thing I disagree with you. Just because wars happen, they do not help all the populations of United States. Okay, the oligarchs, the people who control the bourses, they make money. Okay, the ordinary folks do not benefit from it.
Yeah, let me say this on that. Let me say this on the response to war is good for your economy. You should support war, bro. What's good for your economy is doing justice by people and ingenuity and studying and learning and figuring out ways to be creative and look out for the people and best practices, bro. Miss me with this concept. War is good for your economy. If that ain't a devil talking, I don't know what that is. That idea, that concept, war is good for your economy because you can build more weapons than McDonnell Douglas and Boeing, and you can be hiring employees. And, bro, that divisive mindset, destruction, subtraction, miss me with that, bro. What's good for your economy is doing the right thing by people. How about that? Justice. And there's plenty to go around, and there's land that's not even being utilized yet. And there's all kind of opportunities, and you can spread out. You don't have to all just be packed in one little bitty area. What's good for your economy is do the right thing, bro. I know that's a foreign concept to some people, especially looking at events over the last how many thousand years. But believe it or not, we're going to get to that point where it's going to be good for your economy not to be having people wanting to kill your ass because you're doing unjust things. That's not good for your economy, bro.
So war
but statistically, they recently have asked Americans that, you know, there was a survey that they asked the Americans about the invasion to Iran, and apparently 60% of the Americans actually they agreed that you know, they should attack Iran.
Well, nobody I know got that survey. Nobody I know got that survey. So let's take it into consideration. I don't know how many people were in that survey, bro. So there's 300 million people. How many people were in that survey?
I don't know, but this was from an official, you know, source. Actually, it came out.
Okay.
Anyway, if this is not the case. Now, here's the thing. This is what I don't get here. If this is not the case, then why does not the people of America uprise against their government?
Because the politics of America is very complicated, bro. And there's a lot of BS that goes on in America, believe it or not.
I know it's complicated, but normal.
I know you want a quick answer, one sentence answer. You know, electoral college. There's a lot we could talk about, bro, about whose voices get heard and, you know, old boy networks and secrets. There's a lot of shit we could cover, but that's a long answer, believe it or not.
So
the MAGA has been infiltrated by AIPAC.
So
it's a question for everybody in the room. The MAGA has been infiltrated by the AIPAC, the Zionist.
Can you guys just like one talk at a time?
I'm trying. War is not good for your economy when it's on your grounds and you're in the middle of it. A couple of things. One, taxpayers' dollars don't go to Israel for weapons. America and Israel has some sort of negotiation where they buy weapons from America. Those are not America's taxpayers' dollars going to Israel. And two, Israel doesn't make its own weapons. It makes cybersecurity software mostly and various other software. So it's more of a software industry and not a hardware industry where America's military industrial companies are hardware